A CBS News poll, moreover, after the recent Operation Midnight Hammer B-2 bombers in Iran, 94% of self-identified MAGA Republicans supported President Trump's dropping those B-2 bombs on Fort Natanz and the other Iranian facilities there. This is a wildly popular policy there. What did Dave Smith say about this? He re-upped his now years-long crusade to call for Donald Trump's impeachment. Y'all probably don't know that about Dave Smith, do you? He's now called for Donald Trump to be impeached multiple times. But Dave, look, I don't like when people misquote me either. You probably don't like when people misquote you. So I actually have a little bit of a highlight reel here of Dave Smith's tweets over the years. Dave Smith, March 19th, 2024. Donald Trump is responsible for around 500,000 deaths in Yemen, and between the weapons to Ukraine and the Abraham Accords Jerusalem embassy, he is at least partially responsible for the two worst humanitarian crises in the world. He's a war criminal who should spend his life in prison. He is calling Donald Trump a war criminal who should spend his life in prison. You should be livid at that. I am livid at that as a Trump supporter. Donald Trump, Dave Smith, June 16, 2025. Trump allegedly had full prior knowledge of Israel's attacks and gave it his blessing while pretending to be negotiating with the Iranians as a cover. If this is true, Trump is the most impotent bitch of a leader imaginable. He's calling our president, the greatest president in my lifetime, an impotent bitch. Are you kidding me? June 21st, 2025, Donald Trump has now launched an illegal war of aggression against Iran. The risk of an absolute catastrophe is very high and the benefits are non-existent. Dave Smith, June 21st. Dead wrong. This notion that World War III would start, not a single American casualty. We should be celebrating that. Donald Trump fulfilled multiple campaign promises. The escalator speech in 2015 at Trump Tower, he literally said, I'm not going to let Iran get a nuclear weapon. And guess what? He said, I oppose a neoconservative foreign policy. He did both of those things with Iran. He deprived the Iranian regime of nuclear weapon while not losing a single American sailor, soldier, or Marine while depriving them of nuclear weapons. And finally, Charlie, I'll end on this. Dave Smith, July 8th, 2025. In the last month, Donald Trump has launched a war of aggression on behalf of a foreign government, exploded the debt, announced that he's continuing the Biden policy of arming Ukraine, and covered up a giant child rape operation. So according to my interlocutor, Donald Trump is not just engaging in wars on behalf of a foreign government, he is also covering up the world's giant pedophilic child sex trafficking ring, allegedly, I presume, on behalf of a foreign government as well. So I'm disgusted, frankly, that this man is on stage, but I'll end it at that.
Okay, well.
Oh boy, someone's out for blood, Sitch.
Oh, he's disgusted. He's disgusted to be on stage with him.
Donald Trump, greatest president in American history, right?
Obviously. Oh my God. Wow. I mean, I agree with the first half of I agree with all the criticism except the Epstein stuff. That's just like Trump
you're like,
symptom to like an insane level. But when it comes to the Iran thing, I mean, he completely nailed him, annihilated on that, because Dave Smith and a lot of other people were screaming like chickens with their head cut off, running around like, oh my God, Donald Trump can't bomb this nuclear facility in Iran. It's going to cause World War III. This is the end of the world. This is the most despicable, evil thing to ever happen. And then nothing they said came true. In fact, the opposite of what they said came true.
Yes. Yeah. Iran responded and they gave us a phone call telling us, is it okay if we shoot a couple missiles at you? We're not going to hit you or anything.
Yes.
We just need to let people know that we're mad.
And I mean, these are the same people that were saying, oh my God, they've been saying this for 3 years. Oh my God, you can't arm Ukraine because Russia's going to nuke the United States.
Right.
They've been saying it for 3 years. It hasn't happened. And in fact, Trump, which I was completely wrong about, by the way, has reversed almost completely. Now he seems like they want to send a bunch of arms to Ukraine and try to force Russia into some peace agreement through strength, which is what they should have done from the beginning. And if all those people that were screaming about this would have not been screaming about this, because they've all been proven wrong, because what's probably going to happen is that, yes, Ukraine attacking Russia and supplying Ukraine with arms to force Russia into giving up is what it's going to take essentially at the end of the day. So this whole, like, I completely understand people's hesitancy to want to get tangled up in foreign wars, and that's a good thing. We don't want to do that, but at the same time, it's like for some reason, it's not for some reason, I know why, but it's like for the same time, people just have this attitude where it's like all black and white. You can never be involved in anything in the entire world ever again. You have to bury your head in the sand. And those people have been proven twice wrong in the two last big major conflicts that we've been involved in. Three,
Yeah.
actually, if you want to talk about, because Dave Smith actually was very much against doing anything to the Houthis.
Oh yeah, of course. It's always in anti-interventionism. Hey, I don't think you've ever read the book by Arnold Klink, The Three Languages of Politics, right?
No.
It's a pretty good book. I have my problems with it because I think overall it's a good book. He basically says progressives have a way of looking at the world, conservatives have a way of looking at the world, and libertarians have a way of looking at the world. Progressives use an axis of oppressor and oppressed, which I agree with, obviously. Conservatives use the
You agree that's the lens, not that you agree that is the lens.
No,
to
yeah,
look at the world.
exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you for clarifying. So
Yes.
we don't have Lance coming in here and saying, "Oh, look, he's a progressive." Yes, that's a lens. That's a lens that they use. Conservatives use the civilization versus barbarism axis, which we talked about many times on the show, right? And libertarians, in the book, he says they use this liberty versus coercion axis, which Arnold Klink is in fact a libertarian. So I do think this is where my problem stems from in the book, because and if you read the book, you can tell that liberty versus coercion access is completely aimed at government, right? He's talking about the liberty of the individual versus big government, right? The coercion is always from a government force, even though I think you and I would agree coercion can come from elsewhere, right? It's not necessarily just government, right?
Barbarians,
crime, corporations, monopolies is where coercion comes into play. That's the problem we have with monopolies, right? So I do think, and this is controversial, I know, because libertarians are on the right now, but I do think you can frame the oppressor-oppressed axis in the libertarian frame, and just with a different oppressor, right? The progressives would say the oppressor is white straight males or patriarchy or corporations or they have all different forms of oppressors, right? But the libertarians seem monomaniacally focused on the government is the oppressor, right? So I do think there's a lot of overlap between libertarians in the book libertarians and progressives in the book that is kind of invisible to him because he is a libertarian. But I bring it up because in this is like the clearest example of those frames. There's a back and forth in here where the guy who is in favor of Israel frames it as civilization versus barbarism perfectly, right? And what is Dave Smith's retort? It's really about big government and it's really about the deep state, which the deep state is just a way of saying this is government that is unaccountable to the American people, right?
Right.
If you look at government like most progressives do, and frankly most conservatives do, as accountable to the people through elections, right? We have a mechanism to throw the bums out if they gain too much power or go against what the people want. But libertarians don't really see that. They see government as unaccountable ever, even though we have democracy. So it's a really interesting exchange. Obviously, we're going to get to it and we'll talk about it when we get there. So,
yeah. And I mean, I guess before we start, I just want to say like those three worldviews, the left, right, and I guess libertarian worldviews, all those things are true that you have to look out for.
Of course.
And the problem is that very often, like if you're on the left, you're blind to the conservative or libertarian fears. If you're on the right, you're blind to the libertarian or left fears. And then if you're libertarian, you're blind to the left or conservative fears.
Yeah, that's the biggest problem. They're fixated on the one fear. It's funny how politics does really break down by what you're most afraid of, right? So libertarians are just monomaniacally fixated on government. The government is the problem, right? Corporations can do no wrong. Sure, they dump all of their waste in your river and ruin your waterways, right? But no, but they'll be put out of business eventually, right?
Right. Yeah. And then the left will be monomaniacally fixated on oppression through the forms of racism and
yes. Yeah.
It may be in bigotry and things like that. And
or capitalism.
And well, it's interesting because for quite some time now, I mean, we're kind of, for the first time, interestingly enough, I never would have thought this, wokeness is kind of starting to decouple, or has strongly decoupled, conservatism from libertarianism in the Republican Party. Because for decades, the libertarians and the conservatives were pretty connected on a lot of issues. Now, if you're going to be a little bit more uncharitable,
The libertarians and the conservatives, or the libertarians and progressives?
Libertarians and the conservatives.
Okay.
The conservatives, if you want to be a little bit more uncharitable about this, the conservatives, I think, have been using a lot of libertarian framing for issues, because America is, I think, at its core, a more libertarian country than any other country in the world. The conservatives have been using libertarian framing to advocate for certain things, even though they're not classically conservative. Like the whole Republican Party being very pro, let business do whatever they want. I mean, that's not a classically conservative principle, really.
Not at all. Yeah.
For most of American history, before, when the Democrat Party had a lot of conservatives in it back in the day, I mean, a lot of the conservative energy was behind helping protect, the little person against corporations, against big business, helping the little farmers against the big farmers and all these things.
Right. Yeah, the libertarians have tended to side with conservatives on economic issues and with progressives on cultural issues, right? Because libertarians are in favor of gay marriage and also like free speech. Like, there was a time when conservatives wanted to make flag burning illegal. I mean, sure. Trump has talked about this, right?
No, the libertarians agree. A lot of libertarians would agree with the progressives on issues of, like, yes, as an individual, you should be allowed to get gay married or, do these things. But where they disagree, or at least historically have disagreed a lot with the progressives, is they don't want the government to force it. They don't want the government to say, well, that you have to allow gay marriage, or going back to the 60s, this is what, always got like Rand and Ron Paul in trouble. Like, they would be very against a lot of the federal government coming in and forcing integration laws. Now, right. Their argument would be not on the basis of bigotry, but on the argument of the basis of they just don't like the idea of the government forcing people to do X, Y, Z.
Right. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. I think we can just move forward from here. I believe that was the opening statement. If not, we'll have to see if Dave responds to that opening statement with his opening statement.
Yeah, there was a little bit before it, but we can start from here.
Yeah, I don't know if Dave goes first, so.
Oh, got it. So you can see peace is hard. I'm trying to keep the peace. Now, Dave, I want to give you an opportunity, about 4 minutes, to respond to that. But also, I do want to, now that we had the opening salvos and the Tomahawk missiles launched, let's respond as you see fit.
Do you want to go back and hear Dave's opening?
It's up to you.
We probably should, just to be fair.
Okay.
We're at 14:25.
Like 5:30, I think.
Okay. 5:30. All right. We'll get Dave's opening response. Dave's mealy mouth.
His opening.
That is weak ass opening.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
His pre-response.
Opening salvo. You're right.
It's preemptive response, yeah.
Introduce yourself, make an introductory statement, and the floor is yours, my friend.
Oh, well, thank you very much, and thank you guys for having me. As Charlie mentioned, I took a flight here, so I'm going on no sleep, so if Josh wins, it doesn't count. But I'm a stand-up comedian, and I'm also a libertarian. I'm really a follower of the greatest congressman who's ever lived, who is Dr. Ron Paul, who is turning 90 years old. Happy birthday to him. As far as, look, I would say I think that American foreign policy for my entire life has been insane, and like criminally insane. We've launched war after war. We've talked about peace through strength the whole time, but all we've gotten is permanent militarism and forever wars against countries that pose no threat to us. And a huge part of the reason why we've embarked on this.
This is where I spit my drink out.
Yeah.
Countries that pose no threat to us. I mean, what happened during the Iran hostage situation? I mean, that
Sure.
seems like a fucking threat, right?
Well, there's like this naive way of looking at things. Everyone does this, and it's very difficult. We have to kind of like break ourselves from this frame. Is that, you brought up like, why are a lot of libertarians today kind of hyper fixated on the government as being like this big threat? And the reason is that because we live in America, at least, we generally live in a time for, like, people live in high crime areas, but we live of an area free of like barbarians, coming across from another land to
Speak for yourself. I live in
take our
fucking
shit.
Los Angeles.
Well, yeah, so maybe not. Maybe it depends on where you live in the country. But like I'm thinking like way back in the day. Okay, back in the
Right.
day when you had like a king, and you had to live behind walls because there was a literal roving band of barbarians that would come and just take your shit.
True.
And in those time periods, there would be a much bigger emphasis on security and people giving away their freedoms to the government, the king, to protect themselves because that was the environment in which they lived in. And we live in a time period in America, we're not really like afraid of being invaded by Mexico or Canada, at least not formally. People talk about immigration, but I'm talking about like a formal invasion. No one thinks the Canadian Mounties are going to come, across the border and take over America. And because of that, because we live in this time period, and also, the Cold War has been over for a very long time, we're not really afraid of getting to some big hot war with Russia anymore. Because of that, a lot of the framing and the view of this is like, well, unless someone is going to physically invade the United States of America, they serve absolutely no threat to us whatsoever. And that's a very, I think, naive way of looking at global politics, because we have kind of situated the world where America is the country that is the number one country. We kind of benefit from things the most economically, and we want to maintain that position completely. We want to maintain our, hegemonic power over the world. And there are countries that threaten that, and there are countries that are going to destabilize that going forward. If Iran gets nukes and can threaten to nuke us, or to give nukes to terrorist groups that can nuke us, or nuke our allies, whether it be Israel or European countries, that's going to draw us into a war. It's going to draw us into a hot war. If Russia takes over Ukraine and just decides to start taking over a bunch of other countries, and then Europe is going to get into a big fight with them, that's going to draw us into another war. If China takes Taiwan and we just say, okay, that's fine, let them take, the largest scale high-tech chip manufacturers in the world, okay, it's going to draw us into another war. And the people that just throw their hands up and say, why? Just let Russia take over half of Europe. Let, Iran do whatever the fuck it wants.
Oh my
Let China
God.
take over Taiwan. It's like, okay, so you're basically creating a world where US thinks it's going to be a hermit kingdom, and China is going to take over the entire fucking world, and we're all going to be subservient to them and 100% fucked because we decided to stick our heads in the sand and think, oh, we can just ignore what's going on around us.
Yeah, the economic consequences of China taking Taiwan are fucking huge.
Yes.
There's no way we're just going to go, oh, yeah, whatever. Okay,
The
fine.
technological consequences of that. We are
Yes,
on
that
the cusp
too.
of the next. We are in the middle. Back in the 50s, the 40s and 50s, we were in this nuclear arms race to see like, okay, who's going to be the global superpower. We have this like, technology that's just so vitally important to invent and perfect, and whoever can do this first is going to be the superpower. We're doing that right now. It doesn't seem like that because in America it's kind of happening really more through private companies than the government, but that's what's happening right now. And whoever can really hone in and perfect AI and robots first is going to change the future as we know it for who knows how long. And people really need to understand this. And I mean, this is why I was so disturbed today when, for some fucking God knows what reason, Trump has also flip-flopped on China, and apparently we're allowing them to buy a bunch of chips from NVIDIA now, which is insane to me.
Wow.
I don't know why
Okay, I
I
didn't
don't
know
know why
about
we're
that.
doing this. So
Yeah, that's going to restructure the global political hierarchy for the next 100 years in the same way that nuclear weapons did for the last
yes,
100 years. So
yes.
during 9/11, Dave Smith was 18 years old.
Mm-hmm.
What the fuck? How can you say this when you were 18 during 9/11? How can you say this? That we're totally safe.
Oh, right.
That these countries are no threat to us.
Mm-hmm.
It's insane to me that he can say that. He can just say, oh yeah. All of these people are completely they have no interest in harming the United States whatsoever. I mean, death to America is on half their flags, but we don't have anything to worry about.
Yeah.
Is because the neoconservatives hijacked our foreign policy and they were in power after 9/11. And the neoconservatives, as everybody who's followed it knows, were joined at the hip with the Likud party. That's just a fact. They all admit it in their own words. And you can go back and you can read the Clean Break memo. You can read the companion piece, Coping with Crumbling States. This was written by David Wormser and Richard Pearl. And they laid out their plan. Now, their plan was that to help Israel, the clean break is a break from the peace process, a break from Oslo, which was designed to give the Palestinians their own state. And these neoconservative geniuses decided that instead of the Israelis making peace with the Palestinians, they could just have the U.S. overthrow all of the surrounding governments that were giving Israel a hard time. And this is where four-star general Wesley Clark says that he saw the plans right after 9/11 to overthrow 7 countries in the next 5 years. And what was the last country on that list? It was Iran. Okay? This is a big part of what the whole conflict is about. Now, the neoconservative has kind of become like a pejorative.
So this is so weird to me. And obviously Dave Smith, I believe, is Jewish. So I don't think he's anti-Semitic. But he has this he has Israel derangement syndrome. Okay. You cannot like Israel. I'm frankly not a huge fan of Israel, at the moment. And then if it turns out that they have something to do with the Epstein stuff, I have no problem saying fuck them and cutting them off unless they fix whatever's going on there. But there's a complete fixation. Everything always has to come back to Israel. We now have to tie in the Bush era the Reagan Bush era neoconservative thought process, this philosophical thought that had been dominating the Republican Party for 40 years before Trump came in. That is also somehow Israel's fault too. Everything is Israel's fault. It's totally batshit crazy. And the only thing that makes sense to me about why Dave Smith kind of pushes on this and other people push on this is because, again, even though I don't think he's anti-Semitic, there is a very weird anti-Israel idea that goes on in a lot of audiences. Some of it's anti-Semitic, some of it's not anti-Semitic, and you get a lot of positive audience feedback when you blame Israel for everything. And so maybe he's become sort of audience captured in this idea about this, because while it's true that Wesley Clark did talk about that the Bush administration wanted to go after these 7 countries, Wesley Clark did not ever say that they wanted to go after those 7 countries because of Israel. And I think it's incredibly dishonest to cite Wesley Clark as talking about the Bush administration thought that these 7 countries were really destabilizing to the Middle East. They were Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and Iran. And which, I mean, by the way, obviously, you're talking about Somalia and Sudan. Yeah, Israel really, hyper concerned about that. But the Bush administration viewed it as, they were wrong, but they viewed themselves as they were going to be able to bring democracy and peace to the Middle East and all this stuff. And they viewed that these 7 countries were, where a lot of terrorism and instability was coming from. And while there was a lot of instability coming from those countries, the idea that you could just overthrow all of them and turn them into democracies obviously is a naive and foolish idea. But he has to tie it into Israel. And that's just so incredibly hyper dishonest to do that action. Like Israel was the reason. He always wants to make it feel like America is Israel's puppet. America just dances to whatever Israel wants us to do.
Yeah, that seems to be the narrative people like. So thankfully, Charlie Kirk does push back on the anti-Semitism in Dave's audience. It's later on in the debate, so they actually talk about it. It's great. And Josh mentions that the leader of the Likud party was against this neocon plan that he pulls out of Scott Horton's book, which is actually a pretty good rebuttal to this thing that he's saying now.
Right.
So
For war hawks these days, and don't get me wrong, I support that. Keep calling them neocons. But the actual neoconservatives, the self-identified neoconservatives, aren't really in power anymore. But Benjamin Netanyahu is still in power in Israel, and the Likud party is still pushing for this. Now, I want very quickly, I'll try to not go too long here. Okay, they actually did focus group testing back in the 90s before the first Gulf War in Iraq. And you know, Americans weren't really moved by, we have to reinstall the king of Kuwait, but they were moved by the nuclear threat. Now, if you go read Coping with Crumbling States or the Clean Break memo, in the 90s when the neocons admitted they wanted to overthrow Saddam Hussein, they never said it was because he had nuclear weapons. They said he was a problem for Israel in the region. They only made up that lie after 9/11 because they knew that's what would sell you, or maybe not you, you're too young, but sell your moms and dads on going and fighting this war. And by the way, when they talked about wanting to overthrow Iran, it was the same thing. Never had nothing to do with a nuclear threat. That's just the thing they use now as the excuse. So yes, there is tremendous influence by Israel in our...
So this is how we know that Dave Smith is full of shit, because we've just lived through the Iran thing. We've lived through it. It just happened a few short weeks ago. I guess Dave Smith has amnesia, or he's trying to gaslight everyone or something, because him and a lot of people who shared his takes were all screaming in panic. Oh my God, if Donald Trump, bombs Iran, it's going to be this, it's not about the nukes. It's all about this regime change. They all want to get secretly involved into this massive regime change war. It's going to be Iraq all over again. And yet we're all living in the future, and none of that fucking happened. He was 1000% wrong on that. They just tried to stop them from getting nukes, and then that was it. We're not involved in a regime change war with Iran whatsoever. He's 100% been proven wrong about that. And it's insane to me that while he's been proven 100% wrong about that, he's still on stage right now pretending like he was right about that.
yeah, totally. I would frame the situation a little bit differently. I don't disagree with what you're saying at all. I think Iraq, I do think the goal was regime change, and they did
Iraq,
sell
obviously.
it on nuclear weapons.
Right.
And they did honestly believe that there was potentially some threat of nuclear weapons there. Now, it never panned out. If it had panned out, if we had found that they had a nuclear program, oh my God, everyone would remember Iraq completely differently, and they'd all be saying, rah, rah, we did it. We saved the world from that nuclear threat, right? Since it didn't pan out, and we got the regime change, but we didn't get the France-style democracy in the middle of the Middle East, it turned out to be a complete clusterfuck. But I do think that they learned from that experience that regime change, you can't just drop American institutions into some Middle Eastern country and expect them to work. Like, you need the culture to be there with the institutions. So I think they were a little more modest about what they could accomplish in Iran, and just they were going to deal with the nuclear threat. So
right. No, to be clear, I'm not, obviously when the Bush administration went after Iraq, it was for regime change purposes.
right.
I'm saying he kept claiming before Trump bombed the nuclear facility that it was the secret goal for Iran, and that's why we can't do anything.
Right.
And yet
Yes.
that never fucking happened. He's 100% wrong about that. And yet he's on stage right now, like gaslighting people into thinking the opposite. And then even with Iraq, even though that was 100% what the Bush administration wanted to do, and that's what they wanted to do from the beginning, and they were lying about it, he has to throw in this like weird Israel connection there too. I mean, besides the fact that, again, George W. Bush had this crazy idea that he was going to, bring peace to the Middle East, and that he wanted to go after Saddam because Saddam tried to kill his own father, which was a motivating factor there, and that Israel kind of flip-flopped on the whole Iraq thing anyway. If you look into it, Israel
They
first
did,
was like
yes.
they were telling the Bush administration, like, don't
Not
waste your
to
time
do
with
it.
Iraq, go to Iran. Iran's the real problem because Israel's always been very fixated on Iran. They're like, don't worry about Saddam, it's kind of a waste of time. And then when the Bush administration made it clear to Israel, no, Bush administration we're going to go after Iraq, then they kind of flip-flop to just support the U.S. and say, oh, okay, yeah, we're totally behind you.
Yeah,
They wanted to
Israel
be
fell in
allies.
line.
Yes.
Yeah, so he's got it completely backwards. And
Yes.
Josh mentions this when he talks about the head of the Likud party being against this plan to go into Iraq.
Yes.
Yeah.
In our government. That doesn't mean I'm subscribing to some crazy conspiracy or telling you to hate Jewish people. I'm Jewish. I'm just saying they have influence. They've used it in a very negative way, and we should reject this insane foreign policy and embrace the foreign policy that Dr. Ron Paul advocated, which is the foreign policy of the founding fathers. Stay out of entangling alliances, stay out of unnecessary wars, be friends with the world, and trade with the world. That's the key to prosperity.
Yeah, the founding fathers weren't in charge of a fucking superpower. We were like a we were basically a revolutionary colony, a very small nation, a fledgling nation, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, and also one of the first wars that America engaged in after the Revolutionary War was we had to go fuck over and kill the Barbary pirates because they wouldn't leave our shit alone. They wouldn't leave everyone's shit alone. And you would have had the Dave Smiths at the time be like, why are we involved in other people's wars? You know, the Barbary pirates, that's all the way across the world. Let them deal with it.
Yeah.
It's just, it's so dumb. It's so short-sighted, this approach to everything.
Yes.
Thank you, Dave. Josh, opening statement, feel free to respond, and then we'll proceed as we go. So that was about 3.5, 4 minutes, so same amount of time.
All right, so it's really great to be here. Thank you, Charlie, for having me. Thank you, Turning Point, for having me back. It's really wonderful to be at this amazing conference. You know, Dave joked that he didn't get any sleep last night. Today's actually also a fast day on the Jewish calendar. I'm not eating or even drinking water, so we're all on the same page here. We're all just totally screwed. So you can kind of get off the same starting place there. Look, there's a lot of substance to respond to. I'll just really briefly do that, and then we'll talk about what I actually want to talk about in my opening remarks. Dave mentioned this alleged coordination between the neoconservatives, which I presume he means Bush-era foreign policy, and the Likud party. I presume half of you probably don't even know what the Likud party is. It's referring to the Israeli right. It's very instructive, and Dave always conveniently neglects to inform the audience of this, that the actual leader of the Israeli right back in 2002, a man by the name of Ariel Sharon, vehemently opposed the Bush administration going into Iraq. So this whole notion that Israel is talking America into foreign wars is total nonsense. Actually, in 2011, when the Obama administration toppled Muammar Gaddafi in Libya, it's actually well known that Libya actually sent secret diplomatic envoys to Israel trying to tell them to then talk to the United States and France to talk NATO off of that attack there. So this whole narrative is totally backwards there. But I want to kind of dumb things down a little bit here. I see a lot of people wearing 47 hats. I voted for President Trump multiple times. I love our president. You guys love our president, right? You love President Trump? Okay.
This is so underhanded.
It is.
But it's a good debate tactic.
It is. Well, yeah. It is and it isn't. There's some validity to it and there's some bullshit. Like, obviously, it is mostly an ad hom attack. It's like, you know, you're not really addressing the issues. You're just saying, look, this guy, you know, doesn't like Donald Trump and you like Donald Trump, so he's a bad person. Like, that's, you know, 90% of it. But I do think there is some amount of legitimacy to it or validity to it, that if Dave Smith if his view is so anxious or anxiety prone or so viewed by whatever his ideology is coloring it, that he's willing to say that just because Donald Trump blew up a nuclear facility in Iran, that he should be impeached, and that he's so evil for engaging in all these things. Like, to me, that's completely relevant, because it shows you this person is detached from reality at this point.
Turning Point, freaking USA.
Obviously, you shouldn't give Donald Trump a pass just because he's Donald Trump, though. So
no, obviously,
yeah,
not. Yes.
But look, I completely agree with you. Like, he's so against foreign entanglements that he's willing to throw anyone under the bus that does anything, even if it turns out to be a great thing to do. So that's the problem.
Charlie, God bless you. You have built the largest MAGA grassroots army in the country. Seriously, my friend, you deserve this. You all are card-carrying members of it. We here are part of that. The good news is that while No one should be afraid of debate, and this debate is a nice thing here. The MAGA movement is actually quite unified, believe it or not, all the talk to the contrary when it comes to these issues. An overwhelming majority of self-identified MAGA Republicans support close U.S.-Israel relations. According to a CBS News poll, moreover, after the recent Operation Midnight Hammer B-2 bombers in Iran, 94% of self-identified MAGA Republicans supported President Trump's dropping those B-2 bombs on Fordo, Natanz, and the other Iranian facilities there. This is a wildly popular policy there.
Okay, we're going to skip forward. For those of you who just joined us, we covered this in the cold open. He pulls out a bunch of tweets of Dave Smith basically crapping on Donald Trump and saying Donald Trump should be impeached and hanged and thrown in the Hague and all kinds of horrible shit. So, which is kind of funny, but we're going to jump forward to, I think we're at 1425-ish.
Dave, I want to give you an opportunity, about 4 minutes to respond to that. But also, I do want to, now that we had the opening salvos and the Tomahawk missiles launched, let's respond as you see fit. No, and then bring us to the 12-day war. Because let's stay focused on that.
Yeah,
we can.
Well, the thing, Charlie,
but defend yourself.
Sure.
Obviously.
Well, the thing is, Charlie, as you may have noticed, some of you may have seen some of my other debates. Every single time I come up here to debate issues, and they come up here to debate me and my character. It's all they have every single time because they can't actually take on any of the arguments. And so the most pathetic low-hanging fruit of, you guys like Trump, this guy said bad things about Trump. Listen, guys, I'm a free American. I supported Donald Trump in this last election. Yes, he did just actively cover up a giant child rapist ring, and I'm going to criticize him for that, okay? And I'm sorry, after all
Well, I'll agree. Listen, I will 100% agree with Dave Smith on that part, obviously.
This is a good response. Dave Smith does come up with the best response you can to that complete pummeling. So
yeah, well, it is good because he threw out like 4 or 5 posts, and one of them was about Epstein. So he's going to fix it on Epstein, which is the easiest one to attack.
Of course, especially right now when it's so relevant.
Yeah, but again, it is an ad hominem, and that's totally fair to call it out that. But I do think if someone has a successive, especially recently, of just like the worst takes imaginable, which have all been shown to be wrong and hyperbolic, and you're supposed to trust this person as giving you an accurate view of the world, I do think it's fair to bring those up.
Yeah, totally fair.
these years of us right-wingers saying, protect the children, come on, that's bad for your soul if you don't. You speak up about that. It's horrible what he's doing. And, you know, as far as the actual substance of what Josh said here, which there really wasn't much, but I already pointed this out the last time we debated. His topic about how Sharon was against the war in Iraq is total nonsense. Sharon's envoy initially opposed it when he found out that Bush was going to invade Iraq, not because he didn't want Saddam Hussein to be overthrown, but because he wanted regime change in Iran first. And then when the George W. Bush administration assured him that Iran would come next, they got on board with it and they started pumping out all types of propaganda about how Saddam Hussein's nuclear secret sites that didn't exist. And Benjamin Netanyahu, the longest serving prime minister in Israeli history, that year in 2002 came to Congress and testified under, a congressional testimony that anyone can go watch, and advocated not that the U.S. let Israel do it, but that the U.S. overthrow Saddam Hussein. I believe his words were, I guarantee that peace will spread through the region. And he also advocated that we overthrow Muammar Gaddafi and the mullahs in Iran. So you're just wrong about it. That's not true. And yes, have I been critical of Donald Trump when I think he gets things wrong? Yeah. I mean, I think that's what we should do. This is America. You criticize the government when they get things wrong. And so I don't even know what else.
Josh, wait 1 sec, Josh. I got to keep the peace here. Dave, about a minute-ish.
Okay.
A minute and a half. No, I'm taking her time. I'm just...
Look, as far as
take about a minute and a half and try to do the 12-day war thing.
Yeah, sure. As far as the 12-day war goes, I mean, look, I'll be honest. Donald Trump, it might be the greatest thing he's ever done in his life that at the end of the 12-day war, he after the Iranian response was as weak as it was, and they gave us advanced warning, so there were no American casualties, he started pushing for a ceasefire. And that was great that he did that. But the point is that the war never needed to be launched to begin with. Iran did not have nuclear weapons. Iran, according to all of the intelligence, including our Director of National Intelligence, until a day after Israel bombed them and she changed her mind, go read the annual threat assessment from earlier this year. Iran had not made the political decision to acquire a nuclear weapon, and they were in negotiations with Donald Trump at the time to bring their enrichment down. There was just no need other than the fact that Benjamin Netanyahu wants that regime overthrown.
Josh, feel free to respond. Thank you.
I'd be curious if Dave.
Well, okay. Couple things. Well, let's work backwards here. First time about Iran and their nuclear enrichment. It is just dishonest, and it is just burying your head in the sand and basically being traumatized, being a trauma victim. Because that's what Dave Smith is really advocating for here too. Is like, America did bad things with Iraq and Afghanistan. We have been traumatized. So let me keep throwing trauma in your face that you're forever afraid of your own shadow because of the past. It's essentially his argument. And to bring this up with Iran is just ludicrous. Everyone knew, because Iran admitted it, by the way. People still don't realize this. Iran admitted that they had enriched uranium up to 60%. There is literally no reason on planet Earth for any country to enrich uranium up to 60%, except to go after nuclear weapons. That is it.
But they hadn't made the political decision to do that yet, Sitch.
Yeah. They were just doing it to make people think that they were going to go after nuclear weapons so that people would keep sanctioning them. Or no, I'm sorry, to pull off the sanctions for them for going after nuclear weapons. An idea which makes no fucking sense in actual reality.
None at all. Yes.
Okay. And so the idea that like, oh yes, it's so interesting. He's taking this very like weak-willed, you just negotiate with Iran and they would have just totally given it up. Something which Obama tried to do and didn't work. Something which Trump did try to do and didn't work. Something that Biden tried to do and didn't work. None of these things have ever worked. They have not been working. And so the idea that, now after 12 years or 16 years of trying to do these negotiations, now it's suddenly going to work. After we've already, blown up their nuclear facilities and there was no, downside really whatsoever from it. Now, no, we should have gone back in time and we still should have negotiated. We should have magically gotten them on board to give up their 60% enriched uranium, which was totally for just peaceful purposes, by the way. They totally just built underground. Like, I'm sorry, because this makes me so fucking mad. Dave Smith he wants you, or he believes that you're a fucking idiot. Okay. This is like Epstein levels of retardation that we're supposed to believe. We're supposed to believe that a country that's fucking motto is death to America, that has uranium enriched up to 60%, that has built secret nuclear facilities super deep underground with the explicit reason so that you can't monitor them and you can't bomb them. We're supposed to believe.
Why build them so deep?
Yes.
That's got to be add a lot of extra expense, right?
That's got a lot. Yes. a country which, by the way, only gets 1% of its power from nuclear power and has the second largest reserves of natural gas in the fucking world. We're supposed to be so mind-numbingly fucking retarded that we're supposed to believe that they're just doing it for like totally legit peaceful reasons. Fuck you. That's stupid. That's the dumbest fucking thing in the fucking planet. This is believing the Epstein levels of like Epstein didn't do nothing wrong levels of fucking retardation. And I'm just so sick of these people pushing this fucking bullshit. Okay. You can say that you want to believe that we could have some nice peaceful solution, which I think is stupid, but some nice peaceful negotiation and everything's fine with them without spreading this fucking lie to us, this insane gaslighting to us about Iran.
Yeah. It's completely naive. The only reason you would believe that is you think the government can do nothing right.
Yes.
Obviously he's not that naive in the Epstein situation, right?
No.
Because it's the government covering something up.
You're completely
Then
right.
all the naivete just vanishes. Oh, now I'm not naive. Obviously I know what's going on here.
I hate it. You're so fucking right. I hate it when it's the U.S. government is the wrongdoer He's like,
Yes.
oh, he takes the most obviously the Epstein files are cover up, obviously wrong. But when the American government isn't the wrongdoer, and it's another country,
It's some other country. Yes.
that
The innocent baby angels of Iran.
Right. Yeah. If it's a country that our government doesn't like, well, suddenly, oh my God, they're fucking innocent.
Right.
Of course they're innocent.
They're authoritarian government with no democracy. They're completely honest to everyone.
This is what I mean when I say I fucking despise the American bad brain rot. If your fundamental position is the America bad, it's going to destroy your view on everything. Okay.
Yes.
You're going to be right a little bit because sometimes America is bad. So you'll be right about the Epstein files, but you're going to be wrong about all this other shit.
Exactly.
And the fact that we're here, like, listen, obviously Epstein files is definitely 100% the government being fucking bad under both Trump and Biden. Okay.
Yes.
They were both involved. Both
Biden's not
Trump
innocent.
and Biden.
Yeah.
Yeah. They both were involved. They were both in charge of the government for long periods of time, and we're obviously covering this fucking shit up. Okay. But
It's got to be horrible too. Like, they would have loved to use it again. If Trump is in there, they would have loved to use it. The only thing preventing them was there in there too.
Exactly.
So fucking obvious.
Exactly.
So obvious.
Right. But I'm glad that we have the not being so stuck in some sort of first principled stance of hating America or loving America, that we can actually perceive both of these things through a more objective lens.
Of course. Yeah.
And also, I just looked it up. Dave Smith is factually incorrect. Sharon never testified to Congress about Iraq. That is not true. Benjamin Netanyahu testified to Congress before he was prime minister as some kind of expert. And yeah, he was in favor of it.
Yeah. He was some mayor or something.
Yeah. I don't know what his position in government
He
was, but
coming up in Israeli politics.
yes. But Ariel Sharon did not do this. That never happened. And in fact, there is multiple reporting talking about how Israel, as we said, Israel did not want America to go invade Iraq. They thought it would destabilize the region, which it did, and was more saying that Iran is the problem. And the Bush administration, once it made it very clear that they were going to go forward with Iraq, Israel decided to step in line and support, their ally, the United States. Publicly.
God, that's just got to be a giant headache for Israel. Israel's dealing with a terrorism problem anyway.
Yeah.
And then we're going to give substance to the argument that we're just belligerent invading force.
Well, it also made sense because if Israel viewed Iran as the bigger threat, Iran and Iraq were at odds with each other. So they sort of balance each other out, which is, I'm sure, part of Israel's position.
Yeah, we fucked it up.
Smith also believes in the tooth fairy and pink unicorns. I mean, what lie does Dave...
We missed it. We missed his great response to that. You basically said the same thing without the tooth fairy and pink unicorns line.
God.
But I think that's great style.
Netanyahu wants that regime overthrown.
Josh, feel free to respond. Thank you.
I'd be curious if Dave Smith also believes in the tooth fairy and pink unicorns. I mean, what lie does Dave Smith not believe, frankly? Look, the recent 12-day war is literally the encapsulation of the Trump doctrine of foreign policy. Donald Trump ran against neoconservatism. He is not a neoconservative. That's good because neoconservatism is actually really, really bad. I actually have a whole chapter in my book, Israel and Civilization, talking about how bad neoconservatism is. It's chapter 7. If you haven't read, you should go ahead and pick up a copy. So it's really good that Donald Trump opposes moralistic nation-building boondoggles. Guess what Donald Trump is also not and never has been since day one? He's never been a hardcore isolationist. He is a foreign policy nationalist and realist. We would say that he is a Jacksonian. He is in the mold of Andrew Jackson, one of his favorite presidents of all time, because he believes in generally following the very wise advice of George Washington in his farewell address that you should beware of foreign entanglements. But when you are attacked, you are going to punch back 3 times as hard. How many times has Trump said that in a debate there? When he's punched, he's going to punch back really, really, really hard. What happened?
Jackson actually killed I think it's a second iteration of the Federal Reserve, so that's why I'm laughing about Jacksonian.
Happened in the 12-day war was you had a close ally, Israel, that through their wonderful control of the skies, and they're taking out the missile launchers and the IRGC command there, essentially paved a very clean runway through that, and they're neutralizing Hezbollah last year in 2024, that then allowed the United States to come in with the B-2 bombers and the death blow. It was a perfect alley-oop. For you basketball fans, it was kind of like Kobe Bryant tossing it to Shaquille O'Neal back in the way. It was a perfect tag team operation to neutralize and set back by many years the threat of a regime that, whether or not we care to admit it, has actually been at war with the United States at least since the 1983 Beirut, Lebanon, Hezbollah barracks bombings that slaughtered 241 Marines, arguably since the 1979 hostage crisis as well. Again, Donald Trump fulfilled multiple campaign promises. He set back the nuclear program. Not a single American soldier, sailor, or Marine died. It was a brilliant, brilliant move of statesmanship, a fantastical move. Frankly, it's a borderline Mount Rushmore worthy accomplishment, I would say.
So
Oh my God.
Wow. Okay. He's really sucking up the Trump hardcore.
He knows how to get on Trump's good side, doesn't he? He's
Yeah.
going to be in the Oval Office by the end of the week.
Probably. Listen, if he replaces Dan Bongino, I'm gonna be like, oh shit. I'm gonna be a little worried.
Oh my God.
I'm like, okay, that's a little
He's
suspect.
gunning for the spot, isn't he? Holy shit.
Maybe.
You think he's pro-Israel enough?
Jesus.
Oh my God.
here's what I'm going to do.
That
I'm
is
going to
kind-
insert myself because I don't want us to talk past each other.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say it's kind of annoying too, is that I don't I know in these debates they always get people have very extreme views, but it is annoying to me that very often the people on the other side, they're like so fervently pro-Israel. It's like, ugh. Like, it does rub me the wrong way.
This is always a problem with these debates, and it's difficult for me to watch debates like this and be on the side of any particular person, because they
Right.
usually are just total extremes of the issue, which
Yes.
are, I mean, there's parts that are correct and parts that are not correct. So
Because these conversations have a tendency to do that. So I'm going to ask both of you a critical question that both of you guys already launched. Josh, to you first. Dave's contention, and Dave, you can correct me if I'm wrong, is that the nuclear program was not a threat, correct? That it was a intel push. Would you even say that?
Retarded.
I'm strong manning your argument, steel manning it. Josh, what do you have to say to that, to the veracity of the claim that there was an imminent threat of Iran getting a nuclear bomb? That is a core point of Dave's argument. Then, Dave, I'm going to throw back an equally difficult question for you. Josh.
Okay, so I profess agnosticism as to the imminent nature, Charlie, because I have not seen the reports. Neither have you, neither has Dave. Literally, no one in this room has actually seen the report. So I do not know literally what the exactly imminent nature of the threat was. It would be impossible for me to say. I'm not going to bullshit you and pretend like I know, because I simply don't know. What I can say is the following. Iran has transparently and obviously been trying to acquire a nuclear weapon for 2.5, 3 decades. We know this for approximately 1 to 2 million different reasons. Among them that we can point to is that the IAEA, the International Atomic Energy Administration, which is essentially the nuclear watchdog for the United Nations, they have been sounding the alarm about this, and they have said very loudly and clearly that Iran has blocked their inspectors from going to inspect their enriched uranium, and that they have concluded over recent years, especially including recent months, that Iran is enriching uranium at a much quicker rate and to a much higher percentage and rate of enrichment than any civilian program would ever justify. By the way, the notion that Iran even needs a civilian program in the first place, I think, is kind of bonkers. It's one of the most petroleum, oil, and gas-rich countries in the world, so that's kind of a bit of a red herring in and of itself. But we know from
So just remember what he said. If you listen closely, he said the IAEA has been trying to raise the alarm on this. They've brought up that Iran is enriched to 60%, far higher than anyone needs for any civilian program, and that they're not allowing them to, look into their nuclear sites. All those points are true. Dave Smith is going to completely straw man that in his rebuttal. So just keep that in mind.
But we know from a million different international organizations that they have been doing this. And Charlie, more to the point, again, Dave likes to say, oh, they just chant death to America, which they do. They literally chant it every single day in their Potemkin parliament. But they actually do act on it. They killed hundreds and hundreds of Americans.
Did you hear, if you guys didn't see it, Tucker Carlson interviewed the president of Iran, and Tucker Carlson asked him about this death to America. And he gave,
I did.
the president of Iran, I shit you not, he gave the bullshit defund the police answer. Okay. Remember when people were talking about, oh, defund the police? And you'd be like,
Right.
that sounds
How does
stupid.
it
You want to
really mean defund the police?
Yeah, right. People are like, you want to defund the police? That's dumb. And police are like, well, no. It doesn't mean to like defund the police actually, even though that's the literal words that I'm saying. What it means is that we just need to prop up, other alternatives to the police, right? Crazy, like insane shit. And that was what the president of Iran said. He's like, well, when we say death to America, we don't like mean death to Americans. We just mean death to like Western imperialism and the oppressive, institutions of power and the American government. It's like, oh, fuck you. Like, get out of here with this.
There's things bad about America. We mean death to all the bad things about America. We love America.
Oh, so terrible.
Right. Yeah, I wasn't buying any of it. It was hilarious.
Dave Smith buys it, though.
Everybody's using the word Potemkin now. He's just said the Potemkin Parliament.
There you go.
Someone said it on Sunday, too.
Soldiers on the roadside of Fallujah, Al-Anbar province during Iraq with Qasem Soleimani supplied IEDs. They have killed Americans going back to the 241 Marines in Beirut, Lebanon. By the way, the Hezbollah jihadists who organized that operation to slaughter those Marines in Beirut, Lebanon in 1983 was a man by the name of Fuad Shakur. The U.S. State Department had a $5 million bounty on his head following the 1983 slaughter of the Marines there in Beirut. He went alive for 41 years. You know who killed him last year? The IDF. Israel took out this guy that the State Department had a $5 million bounty on for 41 years for killing 241 of our boys back in 1983 in Beirut.
So I'm going to now ask, I'm going to a really tough follow-up for you. You do not want Iran to get a nuclear weapon. Bad. Would you, if it ever took, if it required U.S. troops on the ground, would that be worth Iran not getting a nuclear weapon?
Charlie, with respect, I reject the premise. I simply do not think it does, actually.
I know. It's a hypothetical, but it's worth thinking about. Okay. Dave, I got to ask you a tough question.
And Dave tries to equate this to the breakfast when this is just a dodge. I mean, he just dodged it. It's not like he's against hypotheticals or doesn't understand how they work. He's like, I'm not going to say.
I know.
Look, this is a MAGA audience. Didn't I just lay out how big a MAGA audience this is? What am I going to do? I'm going to step at it if I tell him, yeah, we should get boots on the ground. What?
Now, okay?
Yeah, but I want to respond to some of this stuff because all of that's wrong.
You will. Hold on. I don't want us to talk past each other, else we're going to spend all this time on prime ministers in 2002 that the audience doesn't know about.
No, but if he's making claims about like something that's just not true.
I want you to get to that. I want to just ask a very simple question. From your perspective, because I just asked the tough one to Josh, are you okay, or do you think we should do anything to prevent Iran from getting a nuclear bomb?
Anything, sure. Yeah, there's lots of things I think we should do.
Is military action ever justified?
Well, again, yes, there are times when military action is justified, but if you're saying what we could do to prevent Iran...
It's really obnoxious that he let him dodge away, because the question that Dave Smith should have to answer is, do you think it's ever, like, if you try to make a negotiation with Iran and they say no, are we allowed, under the Dave Smith worldview, to use military force to stop them to get a nuclear weapon? Is that allowed? Because he doesn't want to answer that question.
Yeah, since he let the other guy dodge, he's forced to let Dave Smith dodge.
I guess that is true. He did let the other guy dodge about boots on the ground,
which fucking sucks. I mean, he shouldn't have let him dodge, right?
Yes,
but he knew. I mean, look, he says in the very beginning he was friends with the guy, so he knew what was up.
It is. I mean, the only reason it's funny because you think the only reason he would dodge that question, because it should be an easy question to answer.
Yeah, fucking hell yeah.
Is that, well, he says no, they should be allowed to get, I don't think he would want to admit this, but I think Dave Smith believes that all these countries, it doesn't matter who they are, should all be allowed to get nukes, and the world would all be a better place if everyone had a nuclear weapon. You could give them both some wiggle room and say, if we knew that if we had credible evidence that Iran is planning to use a nuclear weapon on the United States, should we put boots on the ground to prevent that? Because then you're really saying, hey, nukes are coming. Well, no, I don't even want boots on the ground. It's like, is there any world reality where America tries to get Iran to stop building nukes, they won't comply through negotiation, and we're allowed to, under Dave Smith, he would support, I guess I should say, bombing those facilities from the sky. I'm not even talking about putting boots on the ground. That's a whole nother level.
Well, obviously, if we have a date on the calendar, right, and we know that they're planning on using nukes or working on a plan to do some sort of September 11th style attack with a nuclear weapon,
Right.
fuck yeah, we have to get involved. What the hell? Gonna let that shit happen? No, we're going full Minority Report.
Mm-hmm.
We're going pre-crime.
From getting a nuclear weapon. What we were doing, Donald Trump was in negotiations with them, and I think he should have continued those. And the truth is that the big problem with the JCPOA that Obama got us into was that there were sunset provisions. They opened up a whole new inspections regime. It is not true that the IAEA is saying that Iran was about to get a nuclear weapon. Anybody you want, it's published online. You can go read the conclusion of their last report where they explicitly said Iran does not have nuclear weapons and is not trying to develop them. They are enriching at 60%, and they were in negotiations.
So that's why I pointed out. He never said the IAEA said that they have a nuclear weapon. He changed the thing completely. And the IAEA, it's not really they didn't say, oh, they're not going after a nuclear weapon. They said they don't know. They don't have evidence to support that they have one yet. That's what they said.
Right. That's a giant difference.
It is a big difference.
Negotiations to maybe bring that down. But, when you bring up the fact the Marines getting killed in 1983, it's actually an interesting. Ronald Reagan, who was president at the time, he wrote about this in his memoir. Now, if you know what Ronald Reagan did, was he pulled out after that. He turned tail and run. And he said in his memoir, he said, I underestimated the irrationality of Middle Eastern politics, and we never should have gotten involved in that. Now, if you want to say that Iran backed them, okay, couple years after that, Charlie, there was a scandal in the Reagan administration. It was the something Contra, Iran-Contra. That's right. Ronald Reagan was selling weapons to the Iranians a couple years after this happened. So to come back now 40 plus years later and use that as the excuse why we got to go to war with Iran. I mean, just think about how crazy this is. And the stuff he said about the roadside bombs in Iraq is just not true. It's been debunked. It's more war propaganda that's been debunked. I highly recommend anyone can read the book Enough
Have you
Already.
spoken to a
Josh, 1 second.
I highly recommend people read the book Enough Already. It is the best book that's been written about the terror wars by Scott Horton. He has all the footnotes in there. You can go.
Well, if Scott Horton wrote a book about it, then obviously everything he says is true.
Scott Horton is a crank. I don't like Scott Horton. I think he's full of shit.
Well, I was curious about this claim. Did Iran give military training and military equipment and even explosives to Iraqi Shiite insurgents in the America versus Iraq war? And the answer to that question is yes. Is 100% yes.
Okay.
So it's been, completely confirmed, repeated by a billion fucking sources, including the U.S. government, which I know obviously Dave Smith doesn't trust anything that ever comes out of the U.S. government, so that's probably why he doesn't believe it. But yes, Iran did, which obviously, again, you have to be fucking stupid to think they wouldn't. Why would Iran not give the Shiites, who they want to be in control of Iraq, okay? Why would they not have given those people weapons and military training and bombs and all this other shit to start problems or to fight off against America and to fight the Sunnis? Why would they not do that? It makes no fucking. Iran is giving the Yemen, the Houthis in Yemen stuff. They're giving Hezbollah stuff, but they would never give the Iraqis any weapons. Why would they do that?
Through it yourself. It's completely debunked. Those roadside bombs were built by Shiites in Iraq. Now, some of them did have relationships with Iran, but the majority of Iraq.
Oh, what does that mean? They were just like boyfriend, girlfriend. They just had relationships. They were just boyfriend, girlfriend. They're like, hey, honey, I got to go build a roadside bomb to blow up some Americans. And they were just, their Iranian girlfriends and boyfriends were just giving them moral support, obviously. That's all they were doing, just relationships.
It wasn't more like an independent contractor?
No.
They were just paying them?
No, it was just like head pats and cuddles.
Oh, that's it?
Yes. The Iranian
Working
support.
on the cheap.
Yes, the Iranian support of Iraqi insurgents against America was just head pats and cuddles. Okay, Dave Smith is completely correct.
Iraq is Shiite. So yes, we invaded the next door country and we got into some fights with the Shiite groups there. But to say that's a reason why we now have to invade Iran or we have to bomb them or something, it just doesn't make any sense.
One or two really quick, Chris, follow-ups,
Sure.
and then we'll do this. Both sides need to get under good cross-examination. Do you think it would be bad if Iran got a nuclear bomb?
Yes, I think
Okay,
it's
good.
bad. I think it's bad.
And I think we can all agree on that. That is a moral agreement.
I don't think anybody should be allowed to have nuclear weapons secretly.
Right. And so
How about that?
I will ask Josh about that, because that's a not so subtle dig at Israel. However,
Hold on. Are you suggesting that Israel has nuclear weapons?
I don't know, actually. They probably do.
Yeah, you do.
I don't know the intelligence. I'm not that of DNI, but I mean, they probably do. But let me ask you, Dave. Now, another question.
Come on, Charlie. Don't cuck out. Everyone knows Israel has nuclear. I don't know. Stop it. Stop it.
What is your, now, let's just say, criticism? No U.S. troops were killed. It required no U.S. troops on the ground. There was no war. It lasted 12 days. Fordo was pretty eliminated. I mean, even the Iranians say it. So looking at it now, 12 days later, what is your problem with what seems to be a masterclass in 12 days, in, out, no problem, no U.S. troops, and we've kind of moved on? What would your problem with that be?
Good
Yeah, I
question.
think, and I do think there's something really sick and poisoning about this, is that our country has become so addicted to war that if we launch a war and you go, well, hey, it wasn't a complete catastrophe. I mean, 1 million people didn't die in this one like in Iraq, or hundreds of thousands didn't die in this one like in Afghanistan or Libya or Syria. It's like, okay, look, people died in this war, okay? There were both Iranian civilians and Israeli civilians who died in this war. It was a terrible thing for them and their families. This was a catastrophe. And my point is that the war never needed to be launched to begin with. But there's no reason why we even have to be enemies with Iran. They oppose no, this is a third world country.
Oh,
You're
if I had a
muted.
camera on, you would see me just face palming.
Mm-hmm.
This is the most cucked response I've ever heard.
It's
I think
disgusting, isn't it?
it disgusts me on a very deep level. Dave Smith, I feel like Dave Smith would be the type of person who an invading army would be pillaging and raping some
Mhm.
part of the United States. And he'd be like, well, they're not in my state. Like,
I know.
it's just that
None of our
the idea.
business.
Well, it's, and he also just the complete narcissism to not acknowledge or even admit that he was wrong. In the beginning of the stream, I said, I was wrong about Trump on Russia. Trump has changed his position on Russia. So obviously my original take about what the fuck, why is he like, what's going on with him in Russia was incorrect. And
Mhm.
if you're a man, if you're a mature person, you can acknowledge and say, oh, well, okay, I was wrong. New information has come in and now I changed my position. Dave Smith was 10,000% wrong on everything he was saying about Iran, but he refuses to acknowledge it. He refuses to admit it. So instead he's like, oh, well, you know, it's just so sick. It's so disgusting that just because we completely did a successful military operation, which didn't embroil us in World War III or in a regime change, proving me completely wrong, it's just disgusting because, yes, some people did die.
Mhm.
Because I live in a fucking magical fantasy world where military conflicts and all conflicts can be solved without the loss of life. Oh,
No collateral damage. That's what he wants.
yeah. Not a single person. I think that when a country is doing some fucked up crazy shit and you need to stop them, you should just bend over backwards. You should appease Hitler infinitely, okay, until he's right on your doorstep.
Yeah.
It's so weird. It's so strange to me because, you know, it used to be the stereotype is like the left was more of the pussy and the right was more of the strong, you know, kind of gung-ho people. And this is like the most pussy position like ever on anything. We should just do nothing forever, infinitely.
I'm telling you, this is why the libertarians I perceive on the left, because this is the non-interventionist peacenik left right here. Everything will be
Yes.
fine. Completely Pollyanna. You must hate he gives a Russian roulette example here, which implies, oh, well, it still could have happened, right? Like, okay.
Okay. Yeah, but that's like saying, oh, well, if we did nothing and you know, and nothing bad happened, well, they could have nuked us, Dave. This
Yeah.
Russian roulette. If you do nothing, it's the same fucking problem.
Yes. Only they're holding the gun to your head instead
Yes,
of you
it's-
holding it to their head.
Exactly.
In the Middle East that does not have nuclear weapons, does not have intercontinental ballistic missiles, does not have an air force capable of hitting us with anything. This is Israel's problem. We don't need to be involved.
Do you think that if so right now we have Dave Smith is going to say, okay, we're going to do nothing while they're building the nuke, and then when Iran starts, like, U.S. intelligence comes out and says, we have evidence now that Iran is building intercontinental ballistic missiles, which they're buying from North Korea. Because North Korea, they're literally selling troops to Russia, right? They're totally fine selling this shit to people. North Korea is selling intercontinental ballistic missiles and launchers and all these things to Iran.
Ooh, that's tough.
Okay, Dave Smith
that's all
will
they
say,
need. They just
until
screw the tip on.
right, until the day a missile is flying straight at his fucking house, he will say, that's fake news. You can't believe what the government's telling you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this idea, like, well, they're not doing all these things. He wouldn't give a fuck if they were doing all these things.
Of course not.
Sorry, we got our own issues here. And look, again, I'll give Donald Trump credit that, okay, it didn't turn into a catastrophe. He took the off-ramp when he had the chance. But look, a lot of that was out of Donald Trump's control. The risk of this war, like, a lot of people love to, like, Josh likes to read my tweets when I was saying this could turn into a catastrophe.
Because you were dead wrong and you look stupid.
Oh.
Josh.
Look at that. That's so good. That's so good. Even Charlie's like, Josh, I warned you about this.
Guys, don't say...
Hold on. No.
Let's de-escalate the stupid stuff.
Actually, what Josh is saying is the lowest IQ argument that anyone can make. I was warning that there's a risk of a catastrophe, and he's saying you're stupid because there wasn't a catastrophe. This is on the level of playing Russian roulette, and if the bullet doesn't go off, you go, see, dummy, you were warning that could go bad. That doesn't prove anything. Listen.
Yeah, but the argument is that the gun was empty.
Yeah.
You even made the argument. You were like, they don't have a fucking Air Force. Like, they don't have, there's no downside to flying in there and just completely blowing up their nuclear facility, right? You're playing Russian roulette with an empty gun. Yeah. Sitch, are you afraid playing Russian roulette with an empty gun? I'm not.
I mean, the gun could manifest a bullet.
Okay.
Right.
Now, that would be some freaky shit.
I have to make a call real quick, but keep it going.
Okay.
For all you guys, you talking about how big and bad the Iranians are and what a scary threat they are, what if they hadn't given us advance notice? What if Iran was actually as suicidal as people like Josh pretend they are? And what if their response had killed a few hundred Americans in the region, which by all military assessments, they are capable of doing? What would Donald Trump have had to do?
Now he's completely changing his argument. His argument was that they were innocent baby angels and wouldn't do anything. So now he's saying, but what if? What if they were terrible? You can't make both arguments at the same time. They either were terrible or weren't terrible. So the argument on the table for Dave Smith is they weren't terrible and we shouldn't do anything because they have no nefarious intentions at all, and we'd be just fine if we did absolutely nothing. That's his argument. So, which unfortunately for him works for us, because then that means they're completely ill prepared to deal with us going in and blowing up their nuclear facility.
Then, Charlie, was he? What would he?
I'm the moderator.
No. Okay, sorry.
Like, come on, Dave.
It was a rhetorical question.
I know, but both sides are getting tough questions here.
The point is, Donald Trump would have had to respond even harder.
How many would have, could haves are we going to have here? This is not living in reality.
Let's give Josh a chance to respond.
Yes,
but first,
Josh, it didn't happen. It's a counterfactual.
1 second.
If you hadn't have had breakfast this morning,
when people talk over each other.
See, and then he pulls out the breakfast argument. Such a weak attempt.
They don't like listening to that, so that's why I'm here. Josh, I want you to respond to that, but to Dave's point, do you think Israel has a secret nuclear program, and is that a problem?
Yeah, I think it's not particularly disputed that Israel has a nuclear program. We know exactly where it is based. This is This is not a particularly hidden thing there. I mean, it's so well known, in fact, Charlie, that I don't know exactly why it's officially a secret. Unofficially, it's not much of a secret. I'm non-Israeli. I have no idea why the exact policy is the way it is. I don't particularly have a program with it. As I said, it's one of the world's worst kept secrets. It kind of just is what it is. But more generally speaking, I don't understand why we're going so far down this rabbit hole of would've, could've, should've. The people, look, let's say something very simple here. The people who said that Donald Trump's involvement in the 37-hour operation of the B-2 bombers flying from Missouri to Iran and back with not a single shot fired at our boys. By the way, as I said, that was partially due to the fact that the IDF had so neutralized the Iranian Air Force and their defenses there. So the fact that he was able to accomplish that so amazingly there, we should have seen that coming, because it was actually pretty easily foreseeable. And the people who did not see that coming are the people who have lost credibility to comment, frankly, on these affairs. People who warned about thousands and thousands and thousands of dead American lives, who said that China and Russia would swoop in and that this would be World War III. Well, you know what? God bless you all, because you apparently survived World War III. It was the shortest World War III of all of our lifetimes.
I didn't say any
Dave,
of that, so what are you...
Dave, I restrained Josh. Josh, keep going.
Again, this is the Donald Trump foreign policy doctrine in action. It is quick surgical strikes. Roger Stone was talking about earlier. It's exactly right. He is not a neocon. Neoconservatism, bad. Isolationism, also naive and stupid. Donald Trump agrees with both those things. The nationalist, realist, MAGA, America First approach to foreign policy is to have strong nationalist allies that are generally capable of securing and patrolling their own regions in a way that redounds not merely to the allies' national interests, but also to the American national interest. That is
Look at that. Trump is against forever wars, but he's also against isolationism, which is a good place
want.
to be. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And the whole idea that, I mean, I don't know if you saw the background on these bunker buster weapons that they created specifically for this nuclear site, but the guys who invented the weapons were studying satellite photos of the site as they were building it. So they had every kind of detail about the nuclear site. They knew everything about it for the last 20, 30 years. Mm-hmm. And look, it seems so obvious. We talk about Donald Trump's psychology a lot. Can you imagine going to Donald Trump and saying, yeah, we've been studying this site for 30 years, building specific weapons design just to blow this site up, just for this one site. This is a 30-year project, but nobody's let us pull the trigger on it yet. Do you think Donald Trump is going to be like, I'm not going to pull the trigger on that? That completely caters to Donald Trump's psychology, right?
Yes.
What? A 30-year plan in play and I get to pull the trigger? Bring it out. Of course I'm going to pull the trigger. Mm-hmm. No, look, Obama's not going to pull the trigger on that. Trump is going to pull the trigger. Yes.
Exactly what Israel has been doing for 40, 50 years as they have taken out Islamists and Sharia supremacist thugs in Gaza, in Yemen, Hezbollah. I mentioned Fuad Shakur, the Hezbollah jihadi who killed 241 Marines in Beirut, Lebanon, 1983. There's a million examples there. That is the definition of an America First ally, and what just happened in the 12-day war is an encapsulation of the America First Trump doctrine, that in this case, this tag team between the U.S. and Israel against the mutual threat of Iran in action.
Okay, so I want to now move, because it's important, but it's connected. So I think we have on full display a difference of opinion on the 12-day war. Now let's go to the next one. It's inferred in both of these points, but you only get to answer it as yes or no one at a time. Is Israel an ally of the United States?
Yes, of course.
No.
Okay, so now we have disagreement. We're going to now figure that out. And then I want to then indicate it in that is Israel influencing American politics? So I'm going to start with Josh, and then we'll go back to Dave. You say Israel is an ally. Spend a minute on that, and then address how some people have concerns that Israel is influencing the U.S. government, and then I'll allow Dave to have some time. Josh.
All right, there's multiple reasons why Israel is an ally. First and foremost, I think most people in this room are believers of some stripe, right? I am Jewish. Most of you are probably Christians, and God bless you for that. If you have any attachment whatsoever to the holy sites, if you have any attachment whatsoever to this narrow strip of land between the river and the sea, as the Hamas propagandists call it, then you're going to have some reason to care about this particular sliver of land. That's point number one. Let's just kind of get it out there, especially if you understand that we in Western civilization are fundamentally at war with barbarism, barbarism being best represented by the Islamists and Sharia supremacists. When you understand that Western civilization really just is the Bible, there is a special calling to have an ally with a certain part of the Middle East. That's point one.
So this is great. Even uses the term barbarism, right? Setting up the Arnold Klink situation I told in the beginning. Listen closely to Dave's response to this.
Point two is just the Islamist deterrent point, Charlie, which is that America has faced jihadism time and time again, going back for 40, 50 years. 9/11, obviously the most tragic example. We just saw it again on the streets of Bourbon Street in New Orleans on January 1st, just a few months ago there. If you care about deterring Islamism from conquering Western civilization, a point that you have very astutely been talking about a lot recently on your TV hits and on social media, a very, very important point. If you care about defending Western civilization from the barbarians, you absolutely have to place a special premium on this particular relationship. And then third is that if you actually care as I do, paradoxically, I actually care a lot about China. In fact, I think that America's by far #1 biggest threat this century is China. If you care about effectuating this broader pivot to the Indo-Pacific, as American foreign policy people have been talking about for 20, 30 years now, you have to have some way of stabilizing the Middle East. The way to do that is not to just adopt the stupid and asinine Barack Obama foreign policy of appeasing America's enemies. And the way to do that is to embolden your allies. Again, that is the Trump doctrine.
So we didn't get to the second part of the question. So do you want to just start on the ally and then we'll...
JMac, our Sir got fired. Thanks so much, Daddy JMac, for the $100. Thank you.
Great super chat, too.
Says, people using the excuse, quote, tough talk for someone who's never served are being ridiculous. You don't need to be a doctor or have a desire to be one to have an opinion on doctors and Hippocratic oath. Stop engaging in idiotic debate tactics and make actual points. This is very true.
Yeah.
100% true. The people who say, oh, you're not allowed to ever advocate for any sort of anything that has to do with the military unless you've literally been in the military. It's the same energy as the people that say, well, unless you're a woman, you can't have a position on abortion, okay, because it's not your body. It's the same stupid position, because obviously just as abortion affects men and affects society as a whole, the same thing is the rest of the world and military action affects me and every American citizen. And if you don't believe that you can talk or have an opinion about military action as an American citizen, you don't actually believe in the American principle of democracy and the whole concept of what we're supposed to have in America, which is that we have a military that's controlled by civilians and that people vote for a president and a Congress, and the president and Congress are supposed to direct that military action. That's the whole point of our system. So if you have a problem with that, you can get out of our country because you don't actually agree with what it means to be American.
Not to mention, Sitch and I both pay fucking taxes, which support the military. So it's not like we're not invested economically. We're forced to be invested economically.
Of course.
So, that's just completely ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's completely ridiculous to say, oh, you got to you can't say anything unless you've got your fucking hands dirty in a trench somewhere.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's the same thing, it brings up the doctor example. All the people that are complaining about, COVID stuff. It's like, oh, I mean, you're not a doctor, so shut up. This is the whole thing that we were making fun of with, on Sunday, with what's his face going on about like, oh, we're not, with Lance saying, oh, Jesse, you're not allowed to have a position on transgender medicine.
Yeah,
you're not a doctor. You're not an expert. Same thing.
Yeah.
So.
It is ridiculous. I'm sure there are plenty of plumbers in trenches getting their hands dirty who are paying federal taxes that are going to support the fucking military. So,
right.
Yes.
Right. It's so dumb. It's so insanely stupid.
You can incorporate both, Dave. He had 2 answers in a row, so take 3 to 4 minutes.
Well, look, this idea that the great battle of our time is us versus the Islamists, us versus these barbarians, that's really the problem here in the United States of America. Lebanon, that's what you got to worry about.
So I just want to address the chat here. They're saying if you're not willing to put your own life on the line, then don't advocate for others to do it for you. That is a complete straw man of everything that we're talking about right now. Because we're having a conversation, and we're watching this debate with Dave Smith, who won't even answer the question of, well, is the American military allowed, under Dave Smith's worldview, to engage in any sort of action whatsoever against Iran if our military and our government deem it is a threat to our country and they won't, through negotiations, give up their nuclear program. And you're like, well, you as an individual person can have zero opinion on what your elected government that you elect should tell our military to do unless you served in the military. Do you understand how insanely stupid that is as a position? That doesn't make any fucking sense at all.
It's totally ridiculous.
Listen, I think everyone here, all you guys should know this at this point. Our problem in America is the deep state of the United States of America, okay? They're the ones who framed Donald Trump for treason. His own intelligence agencies framed the sitting U.S. president. And you know what that...
So look, this is the perfect example of the Arnold Klink thing.
Mm-hmm.
He says the problem is between barbarism and civilized society, and Dave Smith comes back and says, no, that's not the problem. The problem is the deep state,
right?
The government, the nefarious government that's controlling its people nefariously.
Deep state wants, by the way, permanent war. That's what they always want. That's how they and their friends make their money. And so all of this talk is just so ridiculous, man.
The whole government is designed just to get us into wars, forever wars, constantly. Sitch, did you know this? Did you know this?
I forget who it was. Someone brought up a really good point where they're like, if you look at weapons manufacturers / security companies,
mm-hmm.
The big five, Boeing and all those other ones, throughout the last 40 years,
right,
that their growth was basically the same as like the SP 500.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, and then if you looked at the big tech companies like Google, and Tesla, and Apple, Amazon, right? They're like, they're going gangbusters. So if we're supposed to look at some sort of financial information to see who's like controlling the country, it wouldn't be the weapons manufacturers.
It's the shopping industrial complex.
Yes, exactly.
It's the social media industrial complex.
Yes.
It's the advertising industrial complex.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now,
it's a video game industrial complex.
Right. Now, obviously, those companies are financially incentivized to sell weapons, and thus would be financially incentivized to push people to use those weapons so that more people have to buy it. No one's going to deny that. But the idea that those people are all, they control our government. Our government is just completely this feckless, retard being led around by the nose by these military, companies. It's just never been, shown or borne out whatsoever in anything, really.
Yeah. I mean, how did the Iraq War treat the Republicans? I mean, we were talking in the twilight of the Iraq War about how Republicans weren't going to be competitive for a century, right? Remember?
Yes. Yeah.
So yeah, sooner or later they got to answer to the voters. That's who really is controlling the ship here.
Yes.
So I don't see how you can get into these forever wars, how this military industrial complex can come at the government and say, look, you got to get in this war, when the voters are adamantly against it, right? This is why Donald Trump was like, nah, 12 days is about all anyone can stomach.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why, like, even if Dave Smith's position was like, I'm glad with what Trump did, and maybe he would have done more if it wasn't for the public pressure and and people being very timid and wanting to get involved in that, and that sort of prompted Trump to take this light approach of just blowing up the nuclear reactor and then going home, right? He doesn't even say that. You notice that he doesn't even say that, because that you can make some kind of argument about that, right? But no, not even that. You can't even acknowledge that. That's how much he hates America and the American government.
Yeah, look, if the military industrial complex is driving the ship, why the fuck aren't we putting boots on the ground in Iran? Why the fuck did it only last 12 days? Why? I mean, the answer is obvious. The voters would fucking rebel if that happened. Look, they're getting pissed off about the Epstein shit.
Well, and also, this came about a few years ago. Remember, there was some big fire at one of these ammunition plants, and it came out but there actually are very few ammunition plants across the country, and it was like a big deal. And if our country's so controlled by weapons manufacturers, why are there not massive? Why isn't like ramped up? Why is our military production not ramped up like 10 times, 20 times, 40 times, 100
Yeah,
times?
why are we
more than
running
what
out
it
of
is right now?
ammunition?
Yes, we're literally running out of fucking ammunition and shit. And we can't, build new factories to make even more because even though we're somehow completely controlled by the weapons manufacturers who would love to open new factories in every city.
Yeah, what's going on there? What's happening?
I don't know.
It's crazy. 2004 called up and they want their talking points, Dave. God, it's been 20 years already, and Dave's still on the fucking 2004 talking points. It's the military-industrial complex.
Well, we talked about this a lot. People, they get their political views kind of cemented when they're around that age. And maybe he did too, because that's when Iraq and all that stuff, kicked in. And he's been forever traumatized about it. It's just like people were forever traumatized about Vietnam, like that generation, the boomer generation was just so traumatized by Vietnam, which is understandable. It was a very traumatizing war. But then it's just like people they're stuck. They can be stuck there forever and they can never move forward and they can never see some situations are different. Not every situation is Vietnam. Not every situation is Iraq.
Right.
Iraq 2, I should even say.
I mean, this talk about how, like, if you care about the holy sites in Israel, like, okay, sure. Obviously, Christians and Jews and Muslims have a connection to that land. But that doesn't mean we have to bomb Iran for Israel.
Who is saying that?
Doesn't... Well, we just bombed Iran. That was the first topic. Oh, okay. Okay. Anyway, it doesn't mean that we have to support Israel slaughtering people in Gaza. None of that has anything to do with the holy sites. And in fact, a lot of sites get destroyed when there's bombs flying. But listen, the real problem for America, if you want to even talk about like the Islam taking over America.
I mean, how is this naivete any different than progressives? It really just...
It's the same.
Yeah,
It's
exactly the same, right?
It's exactly the same thing.
America or taking over Europe. Well, how did that happen? That happened because we completely destabilized the region, fighting war after war after war that did nothing but slaughter hundreds of thousands of people. And then our Western governments had the most insane open immigration policy that was basically suicidal. We're doing this to ourselves. We're $37 trillion in debt, and we're looking for another enemy to go fight. Since the collapse of the Soviet Union, we've spent $20 trillion on empire and wars. And you know what? We can't tax enough money to pay for it. We can't borrow enough money to pay for it. So what do? We print the money. And now you guys are coming out into the world and you're wondering why you're 6 figures in debt from college and you're getting a job at DoorDash and the average house goes for $800,000 because we've destroyed the currency chasing these monsters that were never any threat to our country.
So
Wait,
Do you buy that? The
it's
economy's all
insanely
fucked up because of war. Come on.
It's so
give me a
insanely
break.
dishonest.
Give
Like,
me a fucking break.
we all know it's a good talking point, okay, to like rev up people. But if you think about it, you're like, wait a minute. Inflation in America, and really, in America specifically, was at record lows in America. It was like 1% or something until COVID.
Yes, totally.
Until COVID fucked up everything. In fact, was that where all the military spending ramped up? I mean, he just said we spent all this, 50 years after the Cold War ended, spending all this money. And yet for some reason, we spent all this money after the Cold War ended. There was no inflation anywhere. Everyone was looking around for inflation. There was no inflation. But after COVID, magically, there's a shit ton of inflation. Was that because of military spending? No, you fucking retard. It had nothing to fucking do with military spending. Now, you can make an argument now because of inflation. Okay, maybe we need to cut back on military spending.
No,
but
I would make the argument military spending increases productivity, because security is... productivity, the prerequisite is security, obviously, right?
Right. We can't have markets or an economy without security, obviously.
Yeah, exactly.
In the first place. But it's just so dishonest to be like, oh yeah, the reason right now that you're having trouble buying a fucking house or getting a job that pays well is because, we have a big military in America. That it's so dishonest.
Because of all that military spending.
Yes.
That's why. If we hadn't gone into Iraq, houses would be half price, Sitch. Can you imagine?
Oh my God. It's so dumb. It's so fucking stupid.
Yeah, it is crazy.
I would like Dave Smith to explain how Bush's wars into Iraq is what's led to the housing prices being too high. Right
Not
now.
to mention, I mean, the military is just a giant jobs program. It really is.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we built up America after World War II because all the GIs came back flush with fucking money, ready to buy things.
Mm-hmm.
Supply side economics 101.
Sometimes I wonder what an actual unapologetic American empire would look like. We built the Panama Canal. Why didn't we just take it? Yeah, it is. I don't want this, but yes, if America acted the way that Dave Smith
Believes
Candace
we
Owens,
act. Yeah.
and all these other and all the people on the left who say this, Hassan Pike and all these people, if America acted the way they thought we acted, the world would be a very different, much darker place.
Yeah. If we had Russia's ethos,
Yes.
I mean, we'd have Canada and Mexico, right?
Yeah.
We'd be moving into South America.
Yes.
We would have to the Panama Canal.
Yes.
Well, look, it might be better because we probably have interstate highways that go all the way down there. Right? You could do a road trip all the way to the Panama Canal and not worry about being raided by drug cartels.
I know.
And all your shit stolen.
It's terrible.
Security is everything. That's why it's bizarre to me that the Dave Smith types completely ignore that. It is so fucking Pollyanna. Like, you think security just magically appears because you're like, yeah, we have the non-aggression principle. We just put up signs everywhere, right? Don't fuck with other people.
This is why Dave Smith got absolutely annihilated in his conversation with Andrew Wilson, where Andrew Wilson was trying to talk about the core principle that Dave Smith had about his libertarian ideology and non-aggression principle, and Dave Smith didn't even understand the fucking words coming out of his mouth.
Yeah. It's so true. Without law enforcement, you don't have law. You really don't. And that's why defund the police is so ridiculous. But libertarians kind of live in a world where, they'll never say we want to defund the cop on the beat, but they do want to defund a lot of the police that are keeping different government organizations and corporate organizations in check.
I would say don't say libertarians like it's like one group of people, because I think it's like a newer flavor. It's like the American bad libertarians. There's lots of libertarians that understand that you need to have strong police, strong borders, and a strong military. I think it's more like a specific breed of libertarians that just have this America bad kind of.
I'm making the same mistake that the right makes when they conflate liberals and socialists.
Yes.
There's like a distinction there. This kind of libertarian is more like the socialist in that they're a far more extreme version of libertarian, almost like an ANCAP is what you'd call them, right?
Yeah, maybe. It's a naivete for people who have grown up in a stable country, and so they don't understand how.
That's definitely fair. Yes.
Listen, one quick point.
I am probably very libertarian in just that I'm individualist, so.
Adolf Hitler and the Nazis couldn't bring down America.
Streaming.
No, I'm on the phone right now. We have no data. It's still on my side.
Okay. It just got reconnected.
Obviously. Oh, excellent connection. Maybe we're back.
Yeah, I lost all internet, so.
Oh. Why don't you get a better router?
Well, I'm pissed because I have a brand new router. I did get a new router.
I know. I'm just teasing it.
I don't have the luxury of just letting the router go out on me.
Well, this obviously what happened was Dave Smith did, he invoked Hitler in a debate, and it was just so stupid that your internet died.
Yeah, that's what I was freaking out about, how he could say something as stupid as we survived Hitler because the implication with the argument he's making is that we survived Hitler through isolationism, right?
Yes.
Do you think that we survived Hitler because of isolationism, Sitch?
No.
Or is that fucking bananas?
Dave Smith would have 100% been one of these fucking people in World War II that should have been like, America shouldn't get involved in Europe's wars. Okay. How dare they? How dare America go and stop Hitler? And yet he dares invoke that we, quote, survived Hitler. Yeah, we survived it by not listening to your dumbass.
Exactly. Yes. We survived it by giving you the middle finger.
Yes.
So anyway, I guess let's back up and hear this ridiculousness again.
And for it. So what do? We print the money. And now you guys are coming out into the world and you're wondering why you're 6 figures in debt from college and you're getting a job at DoorDash and the average house goes for $800,000 because we've destroyed the currency chasing these monsters that were never any threat to our country. So listen, one quick point. Adolf Hitler and the Nazis couldn't bring down America. Joseph Stalin and the commies couldn't bring down America. The British Empire couldn't bring down America. But you think the Hezbollah in Lebanon are a threat to us? They're a problem for Israel to deal with. We got our
See, it completely ignores. Yeah. We had a fucking Cold War.
Yes.
We were constantly countering every Soviet threat.
Yes. If we had the Dave Smiths of the world were in charge of America, America wouldn't exist. We would have got taken over. We wouldn't have been conquered, been a colony of the British. Nazis would have conquered Europe. Russia would have taken over the world with the Cold War because he would just say forever, bury your head in the sand and it's not our problem until it is and it's too late.
Yeah, he made the same argument with the nuclear threat in Iran and completely ignored all of the interventions they had done. People were constantly saying, Israel's been warning about this for 20 years. Yeah, and they keep doing stuff to make it never happen.
Yes.
Yeah. Anyway, very ridiculous.
At the Beirut barracks bombing in 1983. Seriously, say that to them. Have you spoken to the families of the people who have been killed in 1983 in Beirut, Lebanon, the people who have been killed by those IEDs in Iraq?
I don't know why he's bringing up a 1983 attack.
Yeah, go for the Hitler. What are you talking about? He just did he just invoked Hitler.
I know.
What's that called in a debate when you're not supposed to invoke Hitler?
Godwin's Law.
Godwin's Law, yeah. He just went there. Go there.
You're just casually dismissing. Have you actually spoken to any of these families?
First of all, yes, I have.
The 9/11 families, any of them?
Yes, I have.
Are you aware of Iran's involvement in 9/11?
Yeah, okay. So you're just asking me questions over my attempt to answer them. Stupid.
This is why I'm here. So, right? Why don't we both just take a deep breath? Because they want to see a debate where they can make their mind up. They don't want to see interruptive stuff, okay? That's why this is going to be a different type of discussion. So, let me...
Fuck you, Charlie. Let him fight.
So you have to answer to me, okay? So, Josh... Well, actually, to Dave first and then to Josh. Josh is saying, what about all of the Islamist death that they're responsible for? Beirut bombings. You mentioned the Shiite. That's basically the essence of your argument, right, Josh? By saying, did you talk to, he's saying, why are you minimizing this? That would be Josh's contention. Is that fair, Josh?
And 9/11, there's so many examples.
Right. Dave respond to that, and then I will throw it back to Josh.
Well, I certainly don't think I in any way minimized any of those deaths. I made the point that Ronald Reagan still sold weapons to Iran a couple years after that, and I made the point that those roadside weapons were built in Iraq by Shiites there. That's not minimizing it. This is a huge part of the reason why we never should have invaded Iraq to begin with, because we get our bravest young boys killed. It's tens of thousands of them have committed suicide in the last few years, and that doesn't seem to stop anyone from wanting to pursue the next attack. So the point is, right, that I think if we want to really understand this stuff, it's wise to look at what some of the motivating factors for the hatred against us is. All you got to do is listen. Yes, I have talked actually to families of people who have died in Iraq. You know what? Overwhelmingly, they're non-interventionist anti-war people now. In fact, did you know that in 2008 and in 2012, Dr. Ron Paul got more money from active duty military than all the other candidates combined, including Barack Obama, because the active duty military are actually the ones who are the most hardcore anti-war.
Again,
so don't invoke them to try to sell another war,
but Dave, I'm going to follow up with a tough question. I want you to make the case, because I don't want to have you be able to get past this. You say Israel is not an ally. That is not an opinion that people hear a lot. Why is that?
Look, all I'm saying is Israel has at every turn, and look, again, when I say Israel, I'm talking about the government of Israel. I'm not talking about the people there. And I'm specifically talking about Benjamin Netanyahu and the Likud party, who have been in control for most of this time, for most of my lifetime. Yeah, and most of the 21st century. And so when I say they have been constantly pushing America toward more aggressive policies, toward getting in more fights. And just like I always say, if you went out to the bar every single night with your friend, and every night your friend's trying to convince you to get into a fight, and while you're beating a lot of people up, you're also taking a lot of wounds, and you're going to jail, and you're getting in trouble, you got to stop hanging out with that friend. And so I think that my position, I don't believe in wars of aggression and wars of choice. I don't believe in sanctions. I don't believe in that. We should be friends with Israel. We should trade with Israel and have a good relationship with them. But you know what? I also don't believe in welfare, and they shouldn't get another dime of U.S. taxpayer money, and they should not.
So
hold on. Their lobby should register as a foreign
That's a good segue. Finish that.
And they should stop blackmailing our politicians.
Got it. So back to Josh.
I'm for canceling all the foreign aid to all people. So I think the foreign aid is bad. I think it's actually bad for the countries that we give the foreign aid to. Most of the time, foreign aid goes out as kind of bribe money to the people who are in charge of the government there, and they use it to subjugate their people. So I think foreign aid actually does more harm than good. I'm a total bleeding heart liberal when it comes to helping people. So I'm in favor of helping people, but I actually believe capitalism is the best way to help people. So
Dave had some uninterrupted time there. Let's now address that, because, again, there's a text chain. I have all the text to prove it. Everyone knew where this debate was going, right, Dave? There's been no surprises. Josh, you knew that there are some concerns, and Dave mentioned it, such as, I think you're saying AIPAC. Is that correct?
Well, the broader Israel lobby,
fine.
but that's certainly part of it.
Can you address this, Josh?
Yeah.
Because this is a question people are confused about. Take 2 to 3 minutes on this, and then build out the ally Israel at the end of it. But Josh, Dave is making a point I'd like you to respond to.
Okay, so first of all, I'm not a fan of AIPAC. I donated once to AIPAC, $54 like a decade ago, and I basically got swindled into doing it. So I'm not a fan of AIPAC. But AIPAC is not this nefarious boogeyman that Dave Smith and people make it out to be. It stands for America-Israel Political Action Committee. It is a group of Americans who place a premium on the U.S.-Israel relationship the same way that the NRA is a group of Americans who place a premium on the Second Amendment. I do too. I'm a concealed carry kind of guy myself. Same way that there are any number of other lobby groups that support any number of other things. By the way, there's also similar groups similar to AIPAC for American citizens who support U.S. relations with other foreign countries. Funny how these other groups never get brought up in this debate. For instance, anyone who's been to Glendale, California, you've probably heard folks in ANCA. That's the Armenian National Committee of America, a very loud, active group in Washington, D.C. Perhaps more nefariously, there is the NIAC, the National Iranian American Council. It's funny how in these debates, when you talk about various American citizens who get involved to lobby or to express their political opinion, as the First Amendment gives you the right to do, because they think that the U.S. national interest is served by allying with a certain country. It's funny, and perhaps a little worse than funny, how the whole register as a foreign agent talking point comes up only in one context and one context only, which is AIPAC. Look, the notion, Charlie, that AIPAC, which again I'm not a fan of, I have literally. I'm not a fan of AIPAC.
Why are you not a fan of it?
Yeah, I'm not a fan of AIPAC for the reason that I'm just about to give, actually, which is that AIPAC exists, their raison d'etre, their entire purpose for existing is to secure large-scale annual appropriations, currently about $3.8 billion annually, in U.S. aid to Israel. I'm not a particularly big fan of foreign aid in general, and I've been arguing for literally a decade that the U.S. should wind down foreign aid to Israel in particular. I think it actually is a bad idea for both countries.
Do we have agreement on that?
Yeah.
If you want to wind it down to 0 tomorrow, we have agreement on that.
It can't
sure.
be tomorrow
But yes,
because
I'd support winding
But we have
it down
so we have
too.
agreement on an
Yes.
end point.
Yes, sure.
Okay, keep going, Josh.
yeah. So you obviously, yeah.
Oh, you guys are good people. They just cheered for agreement. I like
Yeah,
this
so
crowd.
That's the point. We're not here just to hurl insults.
Yeah.
You could do that online. This is here to actually have some sort of. We're a nation. These are our fellow citizens. We got to figure this stuff out. Josh, keep going.
Yeah, so you obviously can't do it tomorrow because that would be to betray an ally in the middle of a hot war. That would send a terrible signal to other allies, Saudis, Emiratis, you name it. So you can't do it tomorrow. But I do agree that you should have a game plan 5, 10, 20 years, whatever it is. I don't really care. Honestly, get a game plan in place to phase out this aid. It's not good for the United States. It's crony capitalism, Eisenhower defense industrial complex, Boeing, Northrop Grumman. All of that is totally true. And then from Israel's perspective, it's also bad for them too because it makes them overly reliant. It actually ends up undermining the entire notion of Zionism, the notion that the Jews should control their own right to their own existence in their own homeland. It undermines Zionism in the long run. So it's actually bad for both countries. But Charlie, this notion that AIPAC is this big, powerful lobby can be dispelled with literally one anecdote. And I only need one anecdote to dispel this oft-repeated notion, which is the entire 2014 to 2015 Barack Obama-Iran nuclear debate. The fact that the JCPOA, Barack Obama's Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action nuclear deal passed, is literally the singular data point that disproves the entire alleged existence of the nefarious Israel lobby that controls all politicians there. They failed epically to get that passed. But I do have a question, Charlie, for Dave there, which is...
I will translate it.
Okay. Well, Charlie, I would be very, very curious, based on Dave's recent tweets about Donald Trump doing XYZ things, whether it's covering up for a pedophile ring or engaging in foreign wars, all on behest of a foreign power. Does Dave actually think that Donald Trump, J.D. Vance, and the entire Trump administration are literally bought off by the Jews? Is that actually your honest stance?
Okay, so what Josh is asking...
Well, yeah. Well,
is
first
what he
off,
just
well, it's always, look, all of this, I mean,
and I do
literally...
have a tough follow-up for you.
No, but I'm
please
sorry,
answer.
but just like everything you just said, like all of it, I just find to be like the cheapest debate tactics. First off, I never said anyone's bought off by the Jews. We're both Jewish, and that's a dirty little trick you play. When I'm talking about
the only non-Jewish guy on
I'm
stage.
talking about a foreign... Yeah, I'm talking about a foreign government, and then you kind of imply. And no, again, this is all just straw man. It's this whole thing of like Dave saying AIPAC is this big bad monster that controls everything.
You just said foreign agents.
Hold on. Therefore, if I have one doubt.
I mean, in the beginning of this conversation, Dave Smith was trying to blame Israel for everything. Was saying, oh, all of our foreign involvements going back to Bush and Iraq and Afghanistan, that was all Israel's fault too. Everything somehow comes back to Israel. So yes, I don't think Dave Smith is anti-Semitic, but it's very strange that somehow everything in the entire world that is America bad foreign policy, somehow it just all magically comes back to Israel.
Israel's
Very
behind
strange.
it all.
Yes.
Israel
Almost-
is the engine for America bad.
It's not, I don't think it's the engine for America bad, but it seems like I think what's going on is that there's a lot of people online for a lot of reasons, some anti-Semitic, some non-anti-Semitic, that just really fucking want to hate Israel. And so it's a great talking point to just throw out there and start beating with a stick and getting your audience to clap, whether it's true or not.
Right. But everything wrong with America is because of Israel's influence. That's
It's
what
crazy.
Dave Smith is saying.
It's an
Yeah.
insane position, yes.
Right.
At a point of where a policy that AIPAC didn't want gets through, that disproves the whole narrative. And then this distraction with talking about the Armenian lobby or this other, it's like, yeah, well, if we were having a discussion about that, maybe that would come up. But we're talking about this. And to compare AIPAC to the NRA, who, by the way, are kind of sellouts and don't go nearly far enough. But
I agree with that.
like, I'm a hardcore gun rights guy.
We got more agreement.
Yeah.
We love our guns,
Yeah.
don't we, everybody?
Yeah. No, you know, the NRA.
I just think it's silly because you can frame this as most of America is Christian. Obviously, Christianity has a lot of overlap with Judaism. They share like half a Bible.
Right.
In the Bible, there's constant talk of Israel and the Holy Land and all this kind of stuff, right? So it's probably American citizens, good old American Christians, who are in favor of the relationship with Israel, and therefore the politicians wanting to cater to voters are conscious of that
Of course.
and play that up, right? Not Israel, it's the voters. But obviously, Dave Smith always wants to downplay the influence of voters and democracy and all that because his narrative is the government is behind everything. So unresponsive to the voters.
Yes. And I mean, also, and this was, came up to Dave Smith's face on Joe Rogan is, Qatar spends, hundreds of millions of dollars in lobbying in America, influencing American politics, spending all this money on college campuses, which have been the focal points of wokeness, have all been taking Qatari money. Shockingly, Qatar has been very in favor of all this woke shit, very in favor of all this America bad stuff that's been spreading like wildfire through our country. And yet, for some reason, it's, the American bad people don't want to talk about all the Qatari money that's circulating in the country. No, they just want to talk about the Israeli money.
Qatar is running a psyop on us through our colleges and nobody's talking about it.
Qatar, fucking China is running a psyop on us through TikTok and social media, and the Dave Smiths of the world just want to ignore that. Like, if I might believe that this was a more like not retarded take if there was a clear like, okay, let's stop China and Qatar and all these other countries from just
everyone who's running a psyop, put a
right,
stop
but
to
no,
it.
He's going to be in favor of it because they're running the psyop that agrees with him.
Right. Well, and he's like, the free market, let TikTok do whatever the fuck they want.
Well, unless it's Israel.
Oh, yeah. Then like you got to divest.
Right. If Israel buys TikTok, you think Dave Smith's going to be like, oh, wow, the Israeli government bought TikTok. That makes me feel really good. He's going to be really happy. No,
he's going to be complaining about now they're meddling in our foreign affairs again.
Mm-hmm.
Now they're meddling in our politics.
Hey, guys who always go, the key is to enforce existing gun laws. No, the key is to repeal every last one of the existing gun. There should be one law, the Second Amendment. That's the law. Okay, but all that, no, it is totally different to have a group of Americans advocating for a constitutionally protected natural right for American citizens than to have a group of Americans advocating for a foreign government in conjunction with that foreign government. That's a different thing. And to even, let me finish, Josh, and to even compare them is ridiculous. And listen, by the way, I'll just say this. Every single person in this room, you have to hate AIPAC. You don't even have a choice. You're here at Turning Point USA. AIPAC contributes millions of dollars to woke progressive Democrats if they support Israel. In other words, it's okay to destroy our country as long as that helps Israel. So I'm sorry, I don't know, Turning Point USA, this is my first time here. Quick question, are we allowed to support groups that contribute millions of dollars to woke progressive Democrats? Because I thought the answer was no.
Isn't it funny how in the beginning of the conversation, he's like, look, Josh Hammer is like, Dave Smith thinks that Donald Trump is a war criminal who should be impeached and go to jail. And Dave Smith goes, how dare you? That's an ad hominem. How dare you try to play to the crowd's love of Donald Trump?
Mm-hmm.
And now Dave Smith is like, let me play to the crowd's love of not liking wokeness.
Yeah, exactly.
Very interesting. Very
Their
funny.
love of guns.
Yeah.
He jumps in with both feet.
Yeah. It's the exact same thing.
So Josh, and then Dave, I'm going to have a tough follow-up for you, so take a drink of water. Josh, what would you say to that? Because, look, I wouldn't, some people would ask the question, okay,
and why are they even debating AIPAC? The guy, Josh Hammer, said that he doesn't even like AIPAC.
Right.
Why is it? Okay, so no one here likes AIPAC. We got to spend another 5 minutes talking about it.
AIPAC have more power than like your traditional like Armenian lobby, but more broadly, let's just take it more broadly. Like, is there any concern that, or how would you address the concern? Let me put it this way. How would you address the concern that some people have that a foreign government tends to have an outsized amount of platform in the U.S. government?
Charlie, I think that there are tens, if not hundreds of millions of Americans who care a lot about U.S. relations with the state of Israel for understandable reasons. This literally goes back, by the way, those of you who are familiar with your American history, this literally goes back to the American founding. The American founders were extremely, extremely eloquent and outspoken about this. From George Washington to John Adams to Hamilton to Abraham Lincoln's famous February 1861 speech referring to Americans as an almost chosen people, they quoted the Hebrew Bible over and over and over again. They understood that the Christianity upon which America is predicated is not exclusively, but has a lot of Old Testament Hebrew Bible emphasis therein. And that's been part of our Constitution, part of our legal code, part of our moral code since day one. So it is.
We should really appropriate that God's chosen people thing for Americans. That
For
would be great.
Americans, I agree with that.
Yeah.
Because Americans really are God's chosen people.
I mean, it's just, and it's got such a positive vibe to it, right? Like, how can you go wrong if you're one of God's chosen people, right?
Everything we do is right because we're America and we're God's chosen people.
Makes sense because everyone's trying to become American. Everyone's trying to come to America, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because obviously you want to be one of God's chosen people, right? It's a calling from God to come to America. A lot of people feel that it's a calling of God to become American. So yeah, we should do that. Someone needs to mention this on Fox News so it gets in Trump's ear, and Trump will have an executive order immediately talking about how both Israel and America are God's chosen people.
That would be pretty hilarious if Trump is like, I'm going to put an executive order saying that Americans are God's chosen people.
America, look, if we can rename the Gulf of America to the Gulf of America.
Right.
Why not? Why not? Would you think Jewish people would be offended by that?
I'm sure.
What would your dad say if Trump came out and said?
My dad, first of all, my dad doesn't believe the whole Jews are God's chosen people anyway.
He doesn't? Okay.
No, of course not. What?
So he might be in favor of it then. He might be fine with it.
I don't think most Jews like run around thinking that they're God's chosen people.
Really?
Yes. Maybe like the very religious ones think that, but
it's so badass. It's just so fucking badass to run around and say you're one of God's chosen people. I mean, that is badass.
I think it's funny as a meme. I think it's actually, it depends how you interpret it. I think it's very
tough to live up to.
Dangerous.
Oh, yeah.
No, because on one hand, if you view it from the perspective of I have to live up to this like model, then that could be a good thing. But on the other hand,
a great thing.
Right. On the other hand, I feel like it'd be used to justify you doing whatever
bad things,
bad shit you want. Because you're like, well, I'm chosen by God. You know, it's like kind of like I'm the monarch who's chosen by God. I can do whatever the fuck I want.
Yes. If I want to commit adultery with your wife, well, look, I'm God's chosen people.
Right. Right. So it depends. I guess it depends on which direction you go with it.
Yeah. I just think it sounds cool.
For a meme, I think it's funny for Trump to push for America.
It'd be good.
Completely reasonable for people in the year 2025 to look at that, to look at all the other things we talked about when it comes to deterring Islamism and Sharia supremacism, when it comes to trying to achieve this Abraham Accord-style nationalist, realist foreign policy, when it comes to deterring the Iranian regime and their various proxies. It's very, very understandable for American citizens, again, Americans, to look at that and to conclude that we have important reasons for allying with Israel. They are not doing so on behalf of a foreign government. This framing is absurd. It's utterly absurd. They are doing so because they are patriotic Americans, and they feel it is their subjective sense that as patriotic Americans that this alliance is furthered.
And they are U.S. passport holders. Some people think that they're strictly foreign nationals. Is that correct?
Yes, and that's just simply just not true. Now, again, I say that by way of someone who's been very critical of AIPAC, but it's just simply not true.
We're using that as a filler term. So now, Dave, for you, two quick ones.
You know, I was trying to find here if there was ever a tweet or a video or something where Dave Smith talked about or criticized Donald Trump for accepting a $400 million plane from Qatar.
Ooh.
Because you know that if Israel was giving Donald Trump a $400 million plane, Dave Smith would lose his, it would be like nonstop. It'd be a talking point in every conversation he's ever had. He'd be making nonstop videos about it, nonstop posts about it. If it was Israel. But I don't know. I'm looking and I can't find anything. I don't know if he's ever even mentioned it.
Really? He just ignored because it's guitar. He loves guitar. He used to play the
Very
guitar.
interesting. Terrible.
Do you think that the Council for American Islamic Relations should register as a foreign agent?
Yeah, I don't think there should be any groups advocating on behalf of foreign governments.
You're being consistent.
Yeah,
great.
That's right.
Secondly, though, and Josh did not say this, but he laced it in through one of the salvos he said, Dave, you're accusing them of being bought by the Jews. Now, Dave, there is a rise of, I just think, some disgusting stuff online. I'm not blaming you for this. I'm not one of those people, right? But what do you have to say that there's this dark Jew hate out there? And you see it and I see it. I hate it. It's not good.
Yeah.
And everyone in this audience, guys, don't get yourself involved in that. I'm telling you, it will rot your brain. It's bad for your soul. It's bad. It's evil. I think it's demonic. And so, Dave, though.
I love this part. I love that he does that. He tries to persuade the audience, which is great because I fucking hate seeing that shit as well. It's such a downer, such a fucking black pill. So I'm glad to see people on the right pushing back against that. This is an example of someone on the right, someone prominent on the right, pushing back against that far right fucking nonsense, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's great. Props. I wish I saw people on the left pushing back just as vigorously against socialism.
That'd be nice.
Wait, how do you navigate?
People you mean on the left?
What?
You said people on the right pushing back against socialism.
Oh, people on the left. Yeah, I meant people on the left. Yeah.
Okay.
Pushing back against their own. I'm often talking about which side keeps their crazies in check better. Oh, and everyone on the left is like, Adam, you're crazy. The right doesn't do anything about their crazies. They completely give into their crazy. They don't want to offend them, right? He just called them all fucking demonic. Did he not? Did he not say, you bunch of demonic motherfuckers on Twitter posting your Hitler memes and shit?
Mm-hmm.
Demonic pieces of shit. Get back in the fucking anti-Semitic closet. He did that.
Mm-hmm.
Look, a lot of people on the left will they'll ignore that. They'll say, oh, they never do that. Are you kidding me? They love the far right fascists. They're part of their voting coalition. They're afraid to offend them. It's almost projection because they are on the left afraid to offend the defund the police, insane, crazy people.
Being critical of a foreign government while also, some people say, well, your fans hate Jews. You're not responsible for your fans. That is dumb. That is terrible. I don't believe that. At the same time, though, Dave, you have a big responsibility on your shoulders, right? Because you're saying something that is heterodox, not in popular opinion, that some people are trying to use to push a much more sinister agenda.
Yeah, well, I think there's a lot of truth to that. And I think that the fact is that the policies that the U.S. government is pursuing are almost guaranteed to create this. And look, I think there's a lot of factors here. I don't have nearly...
Oh, my God. The federal government is responsible for the anti-Semitism. We've reached peak insanity. What hasn't the federal government done, Dave? Are they responsible for the Chicago fire? What haven't they done? Is the federal government the Zodiac killer? Come on, Dave.
Enough time to kind of give all of my thoughts on this. But I think as you young people know, right? Even though kind of over the last year with Trump's victory, wokeism has been receding, at least to some degree, it really can't be overstated how much every institution in American life bought into racialism over the last 15 years. And it's like these young kids came up in an environment where that was just considered normal. Like, you judge people by their race and make racialist arguments. And yes, now that has also been embraced by some people on the right. I will say that I think the best thing to always do in these situations is tell the truth, try to be a good person, try to deliver your message in the most compelling way, and let the chips fall where they may. But I do think that the level of Israeli control over our politics is frankly pretty undeniable, as much as people try to. Look, just think one example, right, of this. So Donald Trump, you remember at the end of the 12-day war when Donald Trump starts pushing for a ceasefire?
Wouldn't Israel be hyper against all this woke shit? Because all the woke shit is very anti-Israel and has always been very anti-Israel.
Yeah, of course.
Well, then obviously Israel and the Jews have done a very shitty job at controlling our country.
Oh yeah. They've let the woke stuff get massively out of control.
Yeah, I
Why do you
wish that.
think woke is receding though? What do you think how is woke on the ropes right now? What happened?
Well, people are tired of it, and it's losing elections for the Democrats.
Exactly. Yes,
Yeah.
but didn't Donald Trump come in and take a big old government fucking sledgehammer to wokeness
Mm-hmm.
because he won the election saying he was going to
Yes.
do that?
Yes.
So, but Dave is against the government being used in any way, shape, or form. It's like, come on, buddy. This is what government's for. The people speak out. They win an election. People come in and make changes. That's why wokeness is on the ropes right now. Donald
Right.
Trump came out with a bunch of executive orders, and everyone was screaming, yeah, hell yeah.
Ceasefire. And then what does Israel do? They come in and
I want your reaction to this response. Remember, the question was, hey, there's a bunch of nasty anti-Semitism online around this discussion. Like, it's difficult to have these discussions without just a bunch of fucking racist and, Jew-hating bigots coming into the comments.
Right.
What do you think of that, Dave? And this is his response. How would you grade this response?
Okay, I'm ready.
Well, he's made the response. I mean,
Oh, I was only half listening.
oh, were you? Damn
Sorry.
it! What are you doing? What are you reading?
I found a clip of Jay Smith talking about the airplane that we can listen to. I couldn't like listen to it while we were listening to this, but maybe it's like 5 minutes.
Well,
so
look,
throw it
we
in
don't
after.
have to go back and listen
Yeah.
to it, but I want to tell you, it's fucking pathetic.
Okay. I'm not surprised.
It makes
I'm not
it makes it sound like Dave Smith knows half of his audience are total fucking groypers. It makes it sound like he is afraid to piss off that audience. He
That's
basically
true.
makes excuses for it. He says, oh, this is just a response to the wokeness coming in and racializing everything. And white guys deciding, oh, they can racialize everything too. I mean, that's true. But is that a good thing?
Right.
Is that a fucking good thing, Dave?
Well, that's how you can always tell who's telling the truth and who's afraid of their audience. Because yes, we've said that a million times because it is true. That is what causes it or helps that grow, so to speak.
Yes.
And then we all say, and that's bad. That's
Totally
a bad.
bad.
That's horrible. And that doesn't absolve. Just like criminals are not. The left always says like, oh, it's okay for people to shoplift or do whatever. You'd be racist against white people because of their discrimination or their worldview or whatever. And you say, well, they might have had a hard life, but that doesn't justify you being racist. It doesn't justify you stealing shit. Just as that applies to the left, it applies to any of the groypers, any of these fucking people too.
Yeah, of course. You got to have some sort of standard.
Yeah.
And I just see Dave waffling for 5 minutes here on that fucking standard.
Because that is his fucking audience, or a big chunk of his audience. Why do you think he's so much of, not everyone, but a huge chunk, at least half of the America Bad right is consumed with the groyper, anti-Semitic, white nationalist, democracy bad shit. Of course,
Right.
Of course it is. They're naturally aligned. All those people were on the America Bad right train before anyone else was. They were the original America Bad right train.
Right. States' rights. It's nice to see Charlie Kirk, someone I do think has far more power in the Republican politics and the Republican administration than Dave Smith, coming out here and saying that shit sucks. It's fucking demonic. Don't get involved in it. And Dave Smith being like, well, actually,
I'm glad that Charlie Kirk said that. I do think he's talking out of both sides of his mouth because he does a podcast with Jack Posobiec, who 100% pushes Christian nationalism bullshit repeatedly. And, Charlie Kirk can say it's demonic, and then he's like buddy with this guy who's pushing all this shit in a slightly mask on way.
Well, maybe he pushes back on him. I don't listen to the podcast at all, so
I've never seen him push. I mean, to be fair, I haven't watched a bunch of it, but I've looked through some select parts of it where some choice things are said. I haven't seen a lot of pushback.
well, I would have to see the specific moments that you're talking about. Like if they do get uncomfortable in blaming Jewish people for a lot of crazy shit, and Charlie Kirk is just sitting on his hands, I retract all of this.
No, I haven't seen a clip of Jack Posobiec blaming Jews on a podcast where Charlie Kirk is there.
Okay, because he knows Charlie Kirk is going to kick him.
Sure. But Jack Posobiec is 100% pushing like weirdo Christian nationalist theological shit that is very closely aligned with the Groyper shit.
Okay. Well, look, I'm going to take the win where I can get it.
But
so.
I'm glad Charlie Kirk said very straight up that it's demonic and he needs to shut the fuck up about it.
And Dave Smith should say something similar, but isn't.
Yes.
Regime targets, not nuclear sites. They come in and start, and then Donald Trump was furious with Netanyahu. Obviously, he had his most angry moment toward Netanyahu when he said they both don't know what the F they're doing.
I kind of loved that moment for the record.
Yeah.
I loved it.
I loved that moment too. But then the next day, he's right back to just advocating that they drop the charges against Netanyahu. He's still going to continue funding Netanyahu unconditionally. You know, anyone else, Donald Trump, would have come up with a nickname for him already and just been smashing him all over the place. He was trying to lure America into a war that Donald Trump didn't want to get into. But then we still got to...
did because he literally chose to get involved. Like, that was Donald Trump's decision.
Right, but it was also his decision...
The Israelis had a backup plan.
Right, but it was also his decision to push for a ceasefire and to try to end the thing.
And Israel agreed immediately.
Well, no, they bombed the crap out of him immediately. That's why Trump was so upset.
Simple question. I want to phase out U.S. aid to Israel. Okay, I established that. Allegedly, Prime Minister Netanyahu is now getting on board with that as well. Certainly a lot of people in his coalition, too.
I'll believe that when I see it.
Well, he's basically said that, so you should believe it. But what exactly...
A politician saying something...
Let Josh finish his question.
You should believe
Dave,
it.
let Josh finish his question.
If the Israeli government were to agree that that is the best policy, and if the United States were to do that, then what in God's name is your actual problem?
Well, I'm sorry. So if America was not propping up Israel and America was not...
If we wind down the foreign aid, then what is your issue?
Well, there's other military intervention, obviously, so I'm not sure I follow. I'd be very happy to wind down the foreign aid. But other than that, what is my... Listen, I'm a non-interventionist, so I'm not saying America should get involved. But no, I mean, I do think objectively what Israel's doing to Gaza is horrible. I think...
And I want to talk about Gaza.
They couldn't do it without us.
So make that case.
If they were, I would still be against that.
We have to go fast because people have flights and stuff. But I want to get to this, right? And we still haven't gotten to the final conclusion. So let's talk Gaza because first I want to go, Josh, on October 7th because I want you to remind people what happened on October 7th. And Dave, I'll be honest, I think your portion of the debate, your portion of your community could do a better job of remembering the horror on October 7th. I'm just going to be honest. I'm not putting that on you. I'm saying just your community. That's just me. I want you just to think, because I think we kind of forget because there was something unique and terrible. Josh, I want you to talk about that. And then I want you to make the best case you can, because every human being's made in the image of God. I don't like seeing dead kids anywhere. I don't like seeing dead kids in Gaza. I don't like it. So we're Christians here. So, Josh, I want you to kind of walk us through the series of events, because it can't be lost on us. Talk about Gaza. Talk about the horror of October 7th. Then, Dave, I want you to talk about your criticism about Gaza. And then I'm going to ask you a follow-up, Dave, about something that happened from the Joe Rogan show. Josh, you first.
I'm just curious. Has anyone just put your hand up and make some noise? Have you been... any of you to the parts of Israel that were slaughtered by Hamas? Anyone? All right, a few people. Okay. So I was also there a few months after it happened. If you haven't been there, it's very difficult to describe what you see. You see these kibbutzim, these small villages. By the way, these were typically left-wingers. These were peaceniks that were establishing their villages on the border to try to engage in pen pal diplomacy, if you will, with the Arabs of Gaza. These are very kind of left-wing peacenik people. And you see just kitchenware throughout the streets, teddy bears everywhere, blood-stained walls, bullet holes as far as the eye can see. It's very difficult to describe. The only time that I had that similar feeling walking around places like Kfar Aza was when I was in Treblinka, the Nazi concentration camp itself. So, look, in total, and there's a brand new report talking about the extent of the mass raping and sexual violence that Hamas committed on October 7th, combined, you're looking at roughly 1,200 people slaughtered. By the way, not all Israeli nationals. Dozens of Americans were either murdered or taken hostage in Gaza as well. In total, something like 40 to 50 different nationalities were represented of those who were slaughtered on October 7th. In fact, just looking at it from a very strictly, narrowly American perspective, October 7th amounted on its own terms to the largest American-only hostage crisis since Tehran in 1979, because of all the American citizens who were then taken hostage into Gaza. So it was an unspeakable atrocity. We don't really have all the answers to this day as to how it happened. Perhaps we never will. I certainly hope to get some clarity at some point there. But it was the single deadliest day for the Jewish people since World War II. And given Israel's small size, it's roughly the equivalent of 45 to 50 9/11s, if you can possibly contextualize that. So that was what precipitated this war. And it was a war that Israel, Charlie, did not want, as you know. Hamas took over in 2007. Israel repeatedly, time and time again, decided not to try to topple Hamas under the idea that you could potentially have an even worse alternative, better to deal with the devil that you know, and so forth there. October 7th, I think extremely reasonably, given the sheer level of carnage and terror and just outright satanic, demonic evil that happened, they quite reasonably concluded that policy simply had to end. And what's happened in Gaza for the past year and a half, almost 2 years now, has been a protracted war in one of the most condensed urban environments in the world. It is very, 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 very difficult war-fighting conditions. I would like to remind you just of at least one or two very simple facts. One is that let's not forget that Hamas, who Israel is at war against in Gaza, is a U.S.-recognized foreign terrorist organization. They are indistinguishable in that respect from Al-Qaeda or ISIS or any of these other foreign terrorist organizations. They are a rabid jihadist network that, like all these other jihadis and Sharia supremacists, also wants to kill not merely Jews, but Christians and all infidels. They say that very clearly in the 1987 founding charter. That is point number one. Point number two, Charlie, you mentioned that this is a very Christian audience. I am Jewish. We happen to share most of the Bible. And I am a firm believer in Genesis 1:27, that we are all made in God's image. That is one of my foundational beliefs in everything. I write about this at great length in my book, Israel and Civilization. To me, that's the single foundational ethical imperative of all of Western civilization. It informs my pro-life views and so much else. So I, like you and like so many others, also weep whenever innocent people are dead. There are 2 points to make, and I'll make them very briefly because I know I'm sensitive to time. One is that we know, because we actually have people like John Spencer, the head of urban warfare studies at West Point, who have actually been able to crunch numbers. We know that
This is kind of boring me. Is the rest of this? Is there like a good closing statement or something?
We can just quit if you want. I mean,
Okay.
we watched most of it.
Yeah, I
so.
watched most of it. Okay.
I guess we could just skip to closing statements. They probably make some closing statements that might be interesting.
Okay.
We're in territory I haven't seen, so I was doing
was that his closing statement, or
I don't know. I figured out that 50 XP equals 1 free will unit.
nice? Look at that.
So I just want to let everyone know that.
Same time, like, it's kind of
Act. We don't know how. Got it. I'm curious. I got to interrupt. What is your response to the human shield argument? It has been proven.
Yes.
It is legit. What is your response to a fact? We don't know how widespread it's done, but I think it's rather that Hamas uses human shields.
Yeah, they certainly have. I'm not denying that. But at the same time, like, it's kind of, you know, if let's say, like, in a domestic criminal situation, if there was somebody who killed a bunch of people and then they ran into a school and they're like using the kids as human shields, they're hiding behind the kids, and then your local police department came over and said, blow up the school and killed all the kids, you wouldn't go, well, they have no moral responsibility because they were using them as human shields. Yeah.
This is the famous Israel as school shooter example.
Yes. Or what? Yeah. Well, there's a difference here, which Dave should be very aware of, which is there's a difference between a country killing its own citizens because some terrorist killed. Like, if some terrorist in America killed a bunch of Americans, then hid in an American school, then yes, the point is you want to protect American lives. It wouldn't really make sense to blow up the school to get that guy. And now some people don't like to think about it this way, but this is the way it works. is that governments are beholden to their people first and foremost, which I thought Dave, as an American first libertarian, should be highly aware of. And so you'd expect that Israel is beholden to its people and puts its own people above other people in other countries, just as every government does for their own people or should do for their own people. And so it's a very different situation if you have a terrorist group, which was theoretically elected by a group of people, even though they've not allowed new elections since for quite some time after that, keeps committing terrorist attacks. And there is some percentage, a large percentage of those people from a different country that support those attacks, even if they don't engage in them. And it's like, okay, well, then you get to the moral question of, should a country spend its blood and sweat and lives in years trying to root, the terrorists out of all these underground installations, which is going to lead to a far greater loss of life of its own citizens? Or are they going to say, we don't really give a shit about your people, we're going to ethnically cleanse you from the area, which is essentially what Israel's doing. So now I don't really have a good answer for that, because it's kind of a horrible, horrendous moral question in a horrible situation. But that's why it's not really analogous to compare it to this dumb comparison that Dave Smith is giving here.
Yeah, we're talking about the level of innocence involved in the collateral damage, which is obviously a tough conversation to have. But Dave would frame it as, oh, they're completely innocent, right?
Well, I'm going to say this, and this might be a really horrible thing to say, but if there was a terrorist, like if Mexico falls apart and the top of Mexico that's touching America became under the influence of some terrorist drug cartel or something, and that terrorist drug cartel had support from like 40 to 50% of the population in the area, and continually launched terrorist attacks on America, and could not be dissuaded because they were asking for things that'd be literally impossible to give. Like, they're like, we want Texas back, right? Something that America would never do. And they continued to commit terrorist attacks on America, and they did not stop. As an American, I'm going to get to the point where I'm going to say, okay, it's us or them. Just get rid of them. I don't care how you fucking do it. Just stop these fucking people.
Yeah, most people are going to fall in that camp sooner or later. It's funny because we're having a conversation kind of about trade-offs, right? Famously, Thomas Sowell and Milton Friedman, libertarian economists, always talk about trade-offs. There's trade-offs are the thing that you have to consider in any sort of situation. And this is like a behavioral economic situation, obviously. Right. It's funny that Dave Smith, an outspoken libertarian, is like, there can be no trade-offs. The only thing there can be is zero collateral damage, right?
Yeah.
You can't even have the conversation. That's why just the similarities to progressives who are kind of in the same, no, there can be no trade-offs, right? They can't even build housing without making sure that it solves world peace and hunger and racism, right? They can't even think, you can't even have a conversation with them about realistic situations on the ground because they're not willing to consider, okay, well, there's going to be a cost here, right? Someone could stub a toe. There could be some danger involved.
Right.
So, this is exactly the kind of situation that Dave Smith is. This is a situation Dave Smith has set up. You really can't have these conversations because Dave Smith will come out and go, oh yeah, a family was hurt in this situation and therefore we shouldn't have done anything, even though obviously hundreds of thousands of people could have been better off.
Yeah. Well, and I would be and I said this 2 years ago. I said this from the beginning. I'm still waiting for anyone to lay out the alternative, feasible, better military solution
for the Gaza situation
to how Israel would get the hostages back, would root out Hamas and do all these things on a military level without doing what they did. I'm still waiting for that. I've never ever heard a single fucking person lay out that how like logistically that would work from a military position. Not one.
And ensure that it would never happen again.
Right.
Maybe get some token of good faith, as in they take Death to Israel off of their flag or something,
Yes.
right? They do a little rebranding.
Yeah. And the reason that Dave is dodging on this, the reason they all dodge on it, is because whenever they have to answer this, they give you that insane Hassan answer, which is, well, the Israeli government should have dissolved its own government in response to being attacked by terrorists and
Laughable.
given into, all of Hamas's demands.
Laughable.
Which
Laughable.
is so stupid.
As Bill Burr said in his special, you got to work around that, bro. And Hamas is terrible. Nobody's arguing with that. But that doesn't mean there's no responsibility for the people dropping the bombs.
Got it.
And by the way, again, as you don't want to talk about, how about when they're shooting?
See, look, trade-offs, right?
Yeah.
You're not able to make any trade-offs at all. Yes, Hamas is horrible, but look, you are the ones that can't do any trade-offs. They can do all kinds of trade-offs with human shields and building tunnels under hospitals. Like, they're allowed to make trade-offs all over the place.
Shooting at people trying to get aid. There were no human shields there.
No, I do want to
Go
talk
look
about
at a
it,
picture
actually.
of Gaza. The human shields does not describe most of what's happened to Gaza. Yes, there are certain instances. And by the way, Israel also has a bunch of military targets in civilian areas. I'm just saying that doesn't actually mean it's okay to just now you have.
Israel does not have military installations built underneath civilian infrastructure.
Can you imagine Israel doing that? Yeah, we're going to put an underground base right under this apartment complex. Right under this kibbutz.
But right under, Israel's like, we built an underground military installation underneath our hospitals so that if we get attacked by Iran or Hamas, we're going to run away and hide in our own hospitals.
Right.
No, they do the opposite. They build bomb shelters for their citizens to hide in when they're under attack.
Yeah, safe rooms.
A moral get out of jail free card to do whatever you want to the poor innocent people who, as you pointed out, are also victims of Hamas.
Josh.
And that's what people are objecting to.
Josh, what is your response to, because I know there was some pushback online, to the shooting at the aid site with food? Is that as Dave is telling it?
Charlie, honestly, I have not spent too much time on the details, but what I can tell you is this. We know for a fact that at least until the recent Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, which is this U.S. organized NGO distributing aid, we know that prior to the establishment of this, Hamas was pilfering and confiscating a shockingly high percentage of the aid that entered Gaza, sometimes well more than 50%. Because that's what they do. They have monopoly of use of force in Gaza, and they were essentially just artificially inflating the prices of the actual Gazans' goods and then stealing it all for themselves. That's what Hamas does. It is a deeply corrupt kleptocracy in addition to being a jihadist hellhole. Now, the new aid group, the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, is a noble and
Now, that's all true. It's 100% true. But if it is true that Israel is just killing a bunch of people at these aid stations, that's obviously completely psychotic, if that's actually true.
Yeah. We don't know the
righteous
situation
effort.
on the ground. For all we know, they're investigating.
Yeah.
And they know who they're targeting. So that's the problem. We are constantly in the fog of war situation. You never know for 20 years till 20 years later, right?
That guess who opposes it? Hamas. Hamas are the ones who actually have started indiscriminately shooting, even much more so than whatever anecdote Dave Smith is talking about. Hamas is the one that has actually started indiscriminately shooting at this U.S. perpetuated this U.S. orchestrated new aid distribution organization because Hamas doesn't like the fact that the United States, under Donald Trump, God bless him, has found a way to get around the Hamas monopoly on aid distribution in Gaza.
We are way over time. And so now I want to end with what do we want? Okay, we both are challenging, we're defending, so we got to go fast. Josh, I'm going to start with you. What are you pushing for? What is success? What is the end destination? What are you prescribing? What are you offering? And then Dave, I'll let you do it. And then please don't interrupt.
Charlie, great debate. Thank you for moderating this. So I support the Trump doctrine of foreign policy. I have been a staunch proponent of the Trump doctrine since the Trump doctrine first came into instantiation during the first Trump presidency. The Trump doctrine, again, is neither neoconservative nor isolationist. It is a nationalist, realist, America-first approach to foreign policy that understands three things. One, America's #1 focus this century must be on combating our actual civilizational foe, the Chinese Communist Party. Two, America has declining resources. Three, the way to deal with both those two is to prioritize in non-Indo-Pacific regions of the world allies who are capable of securing and patrolling their neck of the woods in a way that redounds not just to their national interests, but to the American national interest. That in the Middle East is Israel. We've seen that time and time again throughout the Middle East. And again, Charlie, just to drive home this point there, the guy who understands this better than everyone, despite this whole kind of very online debate about what MAGA or America First should think about foreign policy and U.S.'s relations, the guy who understands this the best, as he recently reminded us, is the guy who literally defined the terms, MAGA and America First. To Donald Trump, it is completely commonsensical. It is utterly logical. It flows from first principles that to be America First is to necessarily support tight-knit, close-knit U.S.'s relations. We saw this in the U.S.-Iran war. We saw the B-2 bombers do what they did, and God bless them for dropping those bombs in that 37-hour interval. That would not have been possible were it not for the Israelis laying the groundwork with the Iranian air defenses and Hezbollah the year prior in 2024. It was the Trump doctrine and U.S.-Israel relations at work. So, Charlie, my vision is for an independent Israel where we ultimately wind down aid, and for Israel to be the beacon of protecting and securing American interests in the Middle East, just like other countries can then take responsibility in different regions of the world, so that America can then focus on China.
That was quick.
Look, I think if you guys are being honest with yourselves, and I do think we should really think about the threats that we really do face here at home, and I'm talking about the Democrats coming back into power. Forget all these made-up threats about other countries that really can't mess with us at all. I don't know if you guys have noticed, and you could say it's a very online debate all you want to. This hasn't been a good month for Donald Trump. His base is really kind of turning on each other, and these are major issues that are dividing his coalition. And this is.
Do you think now, pre-Epstein stuff, because obviously the Epstein stuff changed everything, I think. But with the Iran stuff, Donald Trump was proven to be correct, or at least, did not give in to all the fears of the Dave Smiths in the world with Iran. So do you think, Dave Smith was calling for Trump to be impeached for Iran?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that would help the Democrats win an election more or less in 2028 if Donald Trump was
that's a
impeached
great question.
over?
I mean, the answer's obvious, right?
Yeah. So it is, to me, completely insane that he's bringing this up.
Right.
Like I'm talking about, like, we got to look out for the Democrats. They're the real threat. Meanwhile, I think you should impeach Donald Trump.
Yeah. If he got his wish on impeachment, the Democrats would win the midterms. Trump would be a lame duck president.
Yes.
Yeah. Would not be good.
J.D. Vance winning in a few years is not a given. Like the Democrats are going to come back and offer someone. And if we want to have a chance to keep progress going and to get our country in a better place, what we have to do is reject empire and return to being a republic that we were supposed to be. The United States of America was never supposed to be an empire. We were supposed to be a republic, a constitutional republic.
I mean, this goes exactly to what you're saying, but it's just all leftist talking points. He's saying empire, and the left, when they talk about this exact same point, they just say colonialism.
Oh, they do. They do call it empire all the time.
Yeah.
They use the exact same point. Yeah.
American colonialist empire.
Right.
Like a city on a hill that the world could learn from our example, because we do liberty so much better than anybody else does. And we've gotten so far away from that over the years. And like I mentioned at the beginning, look, this is the big point. We're going broke. We can't afford to do this anymore. It shouldn't even be a question of whether we should be giving Israel money or whether we should be giving Ukraine money, as Donald Trump's also decided to do this year. We don't have it. This is like.
Well, actually, we're not even giving Ukraine anything. I think we're selling stuff to our European allies, and they're giving it to NATO. So we're not actually losing money in this.
Oh, good. That's nice to know. The whole money thinking always is dumb. Totally dumb.
Well, no, I don't. I think it's fake for Dave Smith. If we had some magical scenario where we could print guns out of the air for zero
Mhm.
cost and give them to Ukrainians, I think he'd still be against
Oh
it.
yeah, he'd be against it on moral principle. He'd be like, "Look,
Yeah.
we shouldn't get involved.
Because if it was
Those
just
guns are
about
going to kill
money,
those people."
right? Because if it was just about money, he would just say, "I think Russia is horrible and bad, um, but I'm America first, and I think we need to spend all of our resources on America and not the rest of the world." He wouldn't go on these insanely long videos, diatribes about how Russia's actually totally justified in going into Ukraine and how it's really all America's fault and Ukraine is just a puppet
Mhm.
of America and blah 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 blah.
Russia can do that because they're defending themselves
Right,
against a NATO threat. They're
right.
worried that NATO might get involved and they might have to deal with weapons of mass destruction.
Yeah.
So therefore they have to invade.
Me taking out money on a credit card to lend to my friends so I can act like I'm the big shot who's lending them money. We are destroying our own young people. You, not me. I'm not a young person. I'm fine. I'm in my 40s and I make good money. Your whole generation is getting screwed over by this because we have to devalue our currency in order to keep up with the demands for this spending that we cannot afford. And so the answer is that we need to pull back. We need to focus on America. That's what America First is supposed to be about. Sound money, fiscal sanity, and true liberty, true free market capitalism. Not a government that spends $7 trillion a year and a crazy casino system on Wall Street with these incredibly low interest rates where people are making tens of millions of dollars off just, speculating on nonsense. And this is what, it's the warfare state.
Does he know? Like right now we're in a high interest rate environment.
No.
Okay.
But I mean, did he speak out against Trump getting super in bed with crypto? If he's complaining about Wall Street, speculative investing.
Oh yeah. How's he feel about the government buying Bitcoin?
Yeah. I would not be in favor of the government buying a bunch of Bitcoin.
I would rather they buy another aircraft carrier than to buy a digital asset, right?
That would be nice.
They're going to start buying crypto art, NFTs. That's what we want to fill.
The government's gonna start buying monkeys,
Yeah.
bored apes. Yeah.
I think the aircraft carrier would probably be more useful if China actually does invade Taiwan, but that's just my perspective.
That drives it. Look, guys, we have spent $20 trillion since the collapse of the Soviet Union. The war in Iraq and Afghanistan are over, and we're looking at our biggest defense budget ever. This is madness, and it will.
I mean, I don't like the fact that he's playing into the Jewish stereotype here of just being cheap. Fucking cheap. Oh my God. Thank goodness we have someone in the White House that's not a fucking cheapskate. Oh my God. I can't stand cheapskates. Oh, the worst. Crying. I'm ready for him to pull his pockets inside out. I'm broke. Look at him pleading poverty for all of you. America is strong. He doesn't know that America are the chosen people, does he?
No, he does. But it's just, I understand it to me, it's despicable because I understand why it's persuasive. Inflation has made prices skyrocket in a lot of the country for food, for housing, for important necessities, for going to school, things like that. And our politicians are doing really not much to fix that problem in most parts of the country. Some parts of the country seem like they're doing stuff, but most parts of the country not really doing shit to fix these problems. And it's very easy in those situations to just point to whatever your pet issue is and blame that, even if it makes no sense. If we had zero inflation and then all of a sudden, Russia invades Ukraine and we start giving them a bunch of money and all of a sudden our inflation goes crazy, well, maybe Dave Smith would have an argument then. But everyone here knows that's not remotely what the fuck happened.
No,
Everyone
not
knows
at all.
that it was all the COVID spending and the supply chain problems and all the stuff that happened with COVID is what created inflation. It wasn't even the fucking war in Iraq or Afghanistan. It wasn't us giving money or weapons to Ukraine. None of that stuff created the inflation that he's complaining about.
Russia is running into resource constraints because no one wants to take their goofy ass ruble.
No,
They're
and
forced to pay for everything in gold.
well, and that's another thing that I think Dave Smith and Scott Horton, all these fucking people are going to have to completely, eat
Come to
humble
terms
pie
with.
on.
Yeah.
They're not going to, but they're going to be completely proven wrong because all these people, the America bad, Russia sent people were saying it's impossible. You don't understand. It's literally impossible for Russia to lose the war. They can't lose. They can't
Oh,
lose.
I
It's
know.
impossible.
I know. I
Part of the reason,
know.
yeah, and part of the reason I think that Donald Trump has changed his tune on all this is because there's just report after report after report about how Russia is in huge
Imploding. Yeah.
problems right now. Yes, government officials are dying like flies. The economy is like really not doing very well whatsoever. And
The
then
people
Donald
are
Trump
even
is now,
turning on him. Yeah.
yes, people are turning on Putin left and right, and Donald Trump is now threatening to throw on sanctions to anyone that does business with Russia, and after 50 days. So, are you think any of them are going to acknowledge that they were wrong about any of that shit if Russia goes down?
Hell no. Yeah. This is Dictator's Handbook 101 about when democracies get involved in wars, they tend to stick with them. And Russia has that actually goes against Dictator's Handbook because according to Dictator's Handbook, when autocracies get involved, they usually flake out pretty quick. But Putin, his legacy is on the line, so he's in it to the bitter end.
Well, I was watching a bunch of videos of insiders in Russia, and it's very interesting because so much of their economy now, because they've been so shut out from everything else, is built around the war effort. And people think people in America are struggling. It's not even compare in Russia, like the amount of food scarcity and the problems that average people have buying food is off the chart.
That
And
is so scary.
it's so bad. And it's just getting worse and worse every day in Russia. And part of the reason, and it's as fucked up as it is, part of the reason some people are okay with the war is that the government pays a lot to people. They pay a lot to the families, the people that are on the front lines, or if they die, just to kind of like satiate the fact that people, is having so much trouble buying food. Even though Russia is very rapidly running out of money and their inflation is like, I think it's like 30% or something. It's like way, people are complaining about, at the highest here was 9%. Russia's like 30% right now. It's just off the chart. And there are a bunch of Russian insiders who are also talking about how no one in the country, well, there are people that support the war, no one in the country that doesn't support it can speak out about it.
Yeah,
They will
because
just
they'll end
go
up
to
in a jail. Yeah.
Yes, they will be disappeared if they speak out against the war. And how completely, it was very disturbing. There was a bunch of statements from Russian soldiers in the war who are so demoralized, and I feel like really bad for them. They're just basically feel like they are walking into a meat grinder to die.
Right.
That's how they feel.
They're
For the
poorly
Ukrainians,
equipped.
yes. I mean, Ukrainians who are dying feel like they're fighting for their freedom, which they are. And Russians that are dying feel like they are just being sacrificed into a meat grinder and they don't have any way out.
For Putin's legacy.
For Putin, yeah.
In a war they're going to lose.
Yes.
Yeah. It's so crazy. And our media, well, I guess it's not really our media. It's really the online atmosphere is that Ukraine is going to lose. There's no way they can possibly win. Russia's going to destroy them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which just seems completely backwards to me.
UK intelligence estimates that 1,000 Russian soldiers are killed or wounded each day right now.
Yeah, that's horrible. Look, and Trump wants to stop that. All these innocent people are dying for Putin. Fucking Putin. Remember all the people that used to come out when this war started and talk to us about how you just need to empathize with Putin. You need to understand him. You're just saying Putin is evil. That's all you understand is Putin. That's the depth of your analysis, Sitch.
Turns out, Sitch was right. Putin is evil.
Mm-hmm.
Shocking.
That wasn't
Same-
really,
the
that wasn't
exact
really our
same-
analysis, but
I know. Literally the same song and dance. Donald Trump has continued the pattern of every US president. Every US president, it's insane. Every US president has done the same song and dance. They become president, they say, I want to have good relationship with Russia. The Cold War's over. I look into Putin's eyes, I see his soul, I'm going to be his friend. And then they find out I can't be his friend because he's a fucking crazy person and a piece of shit.
yeah, it doesn't work.
How many times? Literally every president has done this. It's uncanny. I think except for Biden because he learned from, being under Obama because Obama did that song and fucking dance.
Well, there's that clip going around of Clinton saying he could trust Putin, that Putin did.
Yes.
He would make backroom deals with Putin and Putin would abide by the backroom deals.
Yes.
So
Every president that's ever interacted, starting with Clinton, that's interacted with Putin has done the exact same song and dance. They say, you can trust this guy. I can work with him. Oops. Turns out I can't. He's totally evil.
right. But Clinton didn't say the oops part. Clinton said he did follow through. Putin did follow through. Which,
No, Clinton. Well, first of all, I
Bill
don't think
Clinton.
Putin only became president, I think, right at the end of Clinton's term.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Clinton said that after he was president, once Putin was president for more than like a day. So
Right. Yeah. We'll see how things shake out, but I do
but
feel
obviously
bad
Hillary
for the
changed
Russian
her
people.
position on Putin very quickly. So
I do feel bad for the Russian people because I do think obviously they're having resource scarcity there. And it's as Americans, look, I feel such gratitude. I walk down to my local grocery store and I'm in there and I think, oh my God, there must be 100,000 products in here, right? Like it's infinite stuff. We're so lucky to live in that environment. And I think people they have such ingratitude. They just think, it's like this everywhere. Fuck, no, it's not. Are you kidding me? Can you imagine being in Russia where you're like, oh my God, they don't have anything at the grocery store?
no. They don't have anything. They're literally running out of men. They have to go to North Korea. Like it's horrifying.
Yeah.
And
it
then
is
in
horrifying.
Ukraine, same thing. It's like, you have to live in a city where you're being fucking bombed. You have to go to sleep to drone attacks and bombs, hitting buildings around you and hoping he doesn't fucking hit you. All because Putin's fucking a psychopath
Mm-hmm.
and a retard. On top of it, he's not just evil, he's stupid and evil. It's like the worst combination.
Right. Look, he's putting the empire back together. And he's going to do it if it cost him every last Russian citizen.
Yeah.
God. Horrible.
Will be the death of our country. No Islamist is going to take down our country, but drowning in debt and empire will. That's how great nations fall. And the young Republicans need to reject that. A republic, not an empire, like the great Pat Buchanan said.
I just,
It's dumb. It's whatever.
bumper stickers.
Yeah.
Whole bunch of bumper stickers. Anyway. Do we want to? I think they're done. So if
They're
we just
done.
want to read super chats, we can. Oh God. Oh. I don't even like arguing against the debt stuff anymore because it's pointless.
Mm-hmm. Derpenstein, thanks so much for the 15 months.
Derpenstein. What?
Derpenstein.
What a great name.
Yeah. Says, Stup Dogs, had to use my free membership chat somehow. Love you. Well, thank you. Appreciate it. We love you
Great.
too.
Love. Love. Sitch and I were talking about Superman for like 20 minutes before the stream began.
You give away our secrets, Adam. Yeah.
It was pretty funny.
Yes.
Yeah. So let us know in the comments if you want us to do. We were talking about doing a recorded video, having a conversation about Superman because like a lot of interesting shit's going on, and uploading it on the How to Kill a Franchise channel. So we're kind of like, maybe we will, maybe we won't. So if you're desperate for it, if enough of you flood the comments with how you would really enjoy that, we'll strongly consider doing it.
Yes.
Look at us. We're completely no commitments. I mean, we do make the commitment to stream on 3 days a week. So it's not like we're no commitments.
Mm-hmm. Kyle the Nightcap for 5 Canadian says, does Dave ever do well in a debate? I just watched him get crushed by Andrew Wilson in that Libertarian debate. A team for the win. Adam is best.
Oh, thank
There
you.
go. Look at that.
Thank you.
Joey Highwood Films for $5. It says 1 of 4. So I guess I'll try to read them together for $5, $10, $15, $20. Says, hi guys. Last time I was here, I said I'd be recording a bunch of stuff for my show. Well, everything went wrong. LOL. There's a loss in the family. One of my actors got hit with a false cancellation attempt. Oh, Jesus, that sucks. Tech issues. And also, yes, it's terrible that you had a loss in the family. That's awful.
Yeah, that is awful.
Tech issues at every step too. We only finished 4 out of 12 episodes, and I missed my shot at Amazon Prime. So now I'll posting short versions on YouTube for free. And the full uncut episode behind YouTube members paywall might make more money this way. I don't know. It's been a stressful month, but hopefully it's worth it. I'm sorry to hear that. You.
Yeah, were you doing it independently and you were going to get on Amazon Prime? My wife constantly watches movies on Amazon Prime that look like they were made for $50. So
right.
I'm curious how that's done, since I have friends in Los Angeles that, I mean, they used to make a bunch of money in the DVD market, and that was how independent filmmakers could make a decent living, but that completely dried up with streaming. So anyway, so yeah, sorry for all that stuff, but look,
yeah, awful.
Send us a link. Maybe we'll check it out.
Dovo for 11 Europeans, 11 euros says A team or S class. Now we have S class, Adam, Sammy, and Sitch. As we all know, Sitch always comes last. I gifted a sub by Juicy Lemon Bug, so I just want to show some love. Well, thank you.
Oh, thanks. Yeah.
Anthony C3PO for £2. Thank you. Says first time sender, love from 2021. Wow.
Thank you for cool. You've been around a while.
Yeah.
4 years. Sweet.
Majin for 26 months says libertarians distrust government because government has a track record of turning inward to secure power instead of focusing on sovereignty.
Turning inward to secure power instead of focusing on individual sovereignty or government sovereignty. I don't know what you mean by that. But yeah, I think they are more skeptical of the democratic process, though, than me or other people who aren't libertarians.
Lord Stug for $2 says no. Dave Smith has Israel bile syndrome, also known as IBS. That's pretty good. That's pretty
I've heard of that.
Yeah. November 1 Echo for $5 says Dave Smith is like the guy who buys an old police car, drives it around acting like a cop, but when you call him out on it, he says he's not a cop. He's just a comedian.
I like that analogy.
Yes. Libertarian Sasquatch for $2 says watch the Hassan North Korea video. North Korea good, America bad. I did see that video. That video is insane.
Is it recent?
It's like a week or 2 weeks ago.
Why does Hassan hate America so much?
This guy did a video that was going on, I forget the YouTuber's name, that was going over all this bad stuff going on in North Korea. And he reacts to it by just carrying water for North Korea to an insane level. Saying
it's bullshit?
Yeah. Yeah.
Does he know he's supporting authoritarianism? Because he's supposed to be an anti-fascist, right? He's supposed to be a big-time anti-racist, anti-fascist, leftist.
Right. Well, it's like, it's, Well, the only reason, I don't know, maybe we'll watch it on stream. I didn't want to watch it because I feel like we've been doing a lot of Hassan stuff recently.
Yeah, so people want something new.
A break from Hassan for a while.
They want something
but that video
unique,
is great.
Something different.
Yeah. RBJ's fan for $5 says 60% enrichment as a negotiating tool makes sense. Just ask North Koreans and Libyans which one works. Josh Hammer's a tool. See, everyone can do ad homs. It doesn't make any sense. And you're conflating two different things. Because first of all, you're saying just ask North Korea and Libya which one works. Well, okay, North Korea has nukes now. So you've completely annihilated your own point. And you've completely justified America's involvement to try to prevent them from getting nukes, just like North Korea got nukes. So, and it doesn't make sense at all. Iran is not going to be this has been talked about very heavily. Israel doesn't have the military to go into Iran to enact some kind of regime change. America has no political will to do that whatsoever. Now, and to say this is why the 60% your enriched uranium as a negotiating technique makes absolutely no sense. I'm actually surprised to hear you say this because it makes absolutely no sense. The argument is, well, right now, there's a lot of sanctions and pressure on Iran because the world wants them to give up making a nuke. And so they say, well, as a negotiation technique to get those sanctions off of themselves, the sanctions that exist because they're making a nuke, they're going to almost make a nuke to negotiate to get the sanctions off of them for making a nuke. How the fuck does that make any sense? I ask you.
Yeah,
Does that make any sense at all? No, it's insane.
What
It's
was our
literally
response?
insane. Yeah.
What was our negotiation tactic? How about you don't have an underground facility anymore?
Right.
That's like our
Right.
negotiation tactic, right?
And also just further to cement RBJH fam why that's a nonsensical talking point is that Iran has made zero, even after the fact, has made zero overtures whatsoever, or zero hedges, zero anything whatsoever through public channels, through backroom channels that are knowledge that anyone knows about, that they would be willing to give up uranium enrichment for something. They've never even suggested that. That's never even come on the table. They keep saying the same thing. No, we will never give it up. It is our God-given right to have, enriched uranium. They keep saying this. I don't know how you could fall for something. It's just so obvious.
Yeah, how can it be a negotiation tactic if you can't actually deliver the ceasing of developing it?
Right.
In exchange for whatever you're negotiating for.
Well, how's a negotiation tactic if you're being penalized for the action that you're doing, and if you stopped it, then you wouldn't be penalized anymore? It's very simple.
Right. Well, they would argue that it would inspire us to leave them alone, but that just makes absolutely no sense. It's the opposite. It would inspire us to fly over there and destroy their facility.
Right.
Which is exactly what happened.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Enrichment is just a negotiation tactic to prevent invasion. Was literally invaded because of enrichment. Yeah. If anyone in Iran actually thinks it's a negotiation tactic, then they're just so stupid. I don't even know how they could eat and breathe at the same time without choking. Libertarian Sasquatch for $2 says, America bad people lose all objectivity instantly. It's true.
Yep.
It's true. 665 Oob. Thanks so much for being This One Equals Freedom for 32 months. Says, have you guys taken a look at the DNI report on nuclear weapons in Iran that was put out prior to the bombing? Just curious what it specifically says.
I'm sure you did.
Prior to the bombing? No. I don't know. I saw the one that everyone talks about Tulsi Gabbard bringing up, if that's what you're talking about, where that wasn't just prior, it was like 3 months prior, where they said that they have 60% enriched uranium and that they're very worried that they could start up and make a bomb very quickly, even though they don't know or they don't think that they're building a bomb. This was in March. They don't think they're building a bomb that very second. They're worried that they could very quickly, if they wanted to, build a bomb.
Yeah, that's what they were saying.
Right. But if there was one right before the bombing, I'm not familiar with it.
They were talking about not having the capacity to launch it at the United States, though. That's why if North Korea gave them the ballistic missiles, it'd be scary.
Right. Adam Gadbaugh, thanks so much for the $2, says David is just capitalist Hamas baby oil piker. True.
That's funny.
I like that. Cameraman 502 for $10 says, have you read the clean break memo? Because I just read it. I'm not sure where David's getting his conclusion from. It calls for removing Saddam, not sure overthrowing Iran or even Syria.
It calls for removing Saddam, but not overthrowing Iran or Syria or even Syria. So they did
I
talk
haven't
about
read
that
it,
in the
yeah.
debate.
I haven't read the clean break memo. I think he was citing something different. I thought it was something. The thing Wesley Clark was talking about, I think, was not the clean break memo, but I haven't read the clean break memo. Way Tosk for 50 Kazark says, join the military, as far as I know, and it's rendering service to the government and the country. So yes, soldiers are there to fight on behalf of the people. That is true.
Yeah,
That is very true.
that's what they sign up for.
Mr. Ubercross, thanks so much for the $10. Says this is from the beginning of the stream, but my YouTube was being goofy. We're not giving weapons to Ukraine. We're selling them to NATO. Nobody should be upset by this. Yeah, exactly. We're selling them to NATO countries. We're then turning around and giving it to Ukraine. Why?
So they're buying them.
Yes. So I don't know. Why is Dave Smith crying about this? He should be happy about this. We're not losing any money. We're gaining money.
Oh,
It's almost like he
okay.
doesn't care about the money at all.
We're getting those nasty euros stinking up our bank account.
I mean, all these people, I don't know if Dave Smith has said it himself, but I wouldn't be surprised. All these people are very close to the camp of, oh, we don't think it's good that the world is a unipolar power with America. They want, other countries to be in America's spot. While claiming to be America first, which is ironic. Misery
Well,
costs $5.
the reason why it's good America is in power is because we're a decentralized government. So I'm in favor of decentralization. But I don't think Dave Smith accepts that America is a decentralized government. He'd say, no, that's completely wrong. This is why they come up with the idea of the deep state, right? Because the deep state is a forever never-ending stream of unelected bureaucrats, right?
Right.
That are not answerable to the people.
Yeah. And even if they don't accept that, you have to choose who's going to be the top superpower. Don't you want to be your fucking country that's making the rules? Or do you want to be another country that doesn't like you?
Do you want it to be a country that has a decentralized form of government or a country that has a centralized form of government in the form of an autocracy like Russia, who can just invade their neighbor at whim, regardless of how the people feel about it? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a far more dangerous situation, obviously.
Yes.
God forbid they take over that country and now all those people are under the oppression of the autocrat. Fuck that.
Mr. Supercross for $5 says, Adam, for the gold standard people, do you recall the X I sent where our debt in gold is lower today than it was in 1990?
I do, yeah.
That's interesting.
It's fascinating. So, yeah, somebody did an analysis of the price of gold versus the debt. And if you convert the debt into gold with the price of gold today, our government deficit is smaller today than it was in 1990. Yes.
Oh, interesting. Interesting. So the argument would be that if you've
converted it into some sort of real resource.
Right, but does that make sense though? Wouldn't the way to measure that be like, well, if you adjust for inflation, not necessarily if you convert it to gold?
Yeah, obviously. Converting it to gold is you're making a choice to convert it to gold, and gold could always be a super inflated price, right? So therefore, well, or gold would be a super inflated price back in the 90s because that's when the deficit was higher, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now maybe it's less inflated.
I guess I guess I'm not following what is the point of the exercise of converting the debt to gold? Like, what is that supposed to show?
Well, I think it shows that if you put the debt into some kind of real resource, the level of debt is more manageable than if you're looking at it in strictly dollars, right? Because it's probably in 1990, I don't know what it was, but it's probably 30 times the size it was in 1990 in dollars.
No, right. But what I'm saying is because gold or some other resource, the price goes up and down anyway. It would make, like, if you said to me, well, if you adjust for inflation, the debt is lower now than it is in 1990, to me, I'd be like, oh, that's crazy. I don't think that's the case, by the way. I don't think that's true. But that, to me, would be a stronger argument for that than saying if we convert it to gold.
This is why economists look at debt to GDP, because the GDP is going up and the debt is going up. The GDP is considered the size of the economy, the size of the economic activity in the economy, right? If you just think of economic activity like Lego blocks, we're adding thousands and thousands of Lego blocks, right?
Right.
So economic activity is growing, and to facilitate that, you need more of a larger money supply. So you're going to have a larger debt.
Okay. So that's a really good point. So you would not just say, oh, well, we adjusted the debt for inflation and then compared it. You'd adjust the debt for inflation, but then also you'd want to say, what is the debt to GDP? And then compare that to see if is it a better ratio or a lesser ratio than it was.
Right.
Okay. Which I don't know the answer to that. But.
Well, the debt to GDP, I think, was much lower back in the 90s. I don't know what it is. Right now, they're getting super freaked out because I think it's approaching it on 100%. But Japan has 250% debt to GDP, and they have super low inflation. So there are examples of places that have. That's why I'm skeptical of the debt to GDP. Like, it really should be inflation. You should really just be looking at inflation. Inflation is what you want to avoid, right? Inflation is what hurts people. That's what's hurting people now. And I get it, obviously. If you're in a job making $50,000 a year and there's massive inflation, you're still making $50,000 a year. Now, you could go to your boss and ask for a raise. Go, oh, inflation is out of control. I need a raise, right? But that gets in this vicious cycle.
Right. Okay. But yeah, the debt to GDP, as you said, was like 40-60% in the 90s, and now it's like 124%. So it's doubled.
Okay. Yeah.
Lord Stug, thanks so much for the $12. Says F class is deaf class. I think that's when the stream went down.
Oh.
Sodos for $2 says stream is down. I'm gonna blame it on Sitch's router. There you go. Wasn't my fault this time.
I can't blame Sitch's router. Not this time. No. Maybe it was my router. I don't know.
Lethal Strength, thanks so much for the $5. Says, hey guys, heading home from Kerrville. Have a great show.
Thank you. Yeah.
Or Kerrville. Yes, I think Strain went to he went to collecting donations and driving around and assisting some people in Texas.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, that's great.
Good for you.
Fate of Morality for 5 months says, unlike Nazi Germany and the Soviet Union, the terror cells in the Middle East actually attacked us on our soil. They're a threat.
Exactly. Yeah. 9/11.
Sketch for 2 hours says, have you ever been to Iran, Dave? Yeah, exactly. There you go.
I noticed he got around that, but heavily hinted at it. Josh Hammer did in the debate. He asked specifically if he asked the audience, he didn't ask Dave. Because we all know Dave's never been to Gaza, right? What's the point of even asking?
Exactly. Injured Ankles for $5 says the U.S. shouldn't stop until we rename Earth the United Continents of America. Only half joking. Nice.
Yeah, I agree. I love all that stuff. That super patriotic stuff. Come on, it's great.
It is good. Boo JK for $5 says Dave Smith is giving me big Neville Chamberlain vibes, and we all know how that turned out for mainland Europe. True.
That was the appeasement guy, right?
That was the appeasement guy, yeah. Yeah, and again, What If All His did a very good video about that whole topic of appeasement and Neville Chamberlain versus the other guy.
I listened to his Jewish, I guess it's kind of like psychology video. That was super interesting.
Yes, I don't know if it's true, but it's very interesting.
Yeah. Well, he
The
read a
Neville
bunch of
Chamberlain
books
versus
and
Winston
got.
Churchill video was good too.
He's
But
basically synthesizing the ideas of others from books, which is great.
Mhm.
That's how I get that's how I read a lot of books, is because I get interested in something because someone talks about it and I think I'm just going to read the whole book. Why not?
Orca Forturo says postmodernism is the root of all this hullabaloo. A sketch for $2 says Dave Smith is a gateway drug to Curtis Yarvin. Definitely feels like that's the case.
Oof.
Definitely feels like that's the case. Ace for $5 says, guys, I hope you know that I value the hell out of you two. You guys are the best and one of the few spaces online where free thought is truly valued. Well, thank you.
Thank you. Yes. Thank you so much.
Orca for $5 says, at least we can take solace in the fact that Groypers is the worst name since Maps. A-Team reigns supreme. A-Team S-Class Bowman. Terrible.
Look at that. A-Team wants a piece of you, Sitch.
They do. They do.
They're coming strong.
It is true. Groyper, I don't even know where, like, I don't even remember how that name got started because it sounds so suspiciously close to Groper.
Yeah. Groper, exactly.
Yeah.
Like what? Who are you
Terrible name.
groping?
Chaka for $5 says, I know I'm late joining the stream, but I'm all for some Dave Smith hates. Well, thank you.
He is becoming kind of a villain on the channel, which is fun.
I mean, he was kind of a lolcow on the channel years ago in our debate. So,
well, he's blown up significantly in recent days, so I don't feel bad about going after him.
Well, that's the thing too, is that him being on the America Bad train specifically has granted him a lot of publicity recently.
Yeah. I love Marv, Mickey Rourke's character from Sin City, just before he's about to kill those hitmen. And he's like, I love hitmen. No matter what you do to them, you don't feel bad. Mm-hmm. That's the way I think about some of these pieces of shit on the internet, like Lance.
Right.
Fucking pathological liar. Dave, I don't think Dave Smith is a pathological liar. I just think he's naive. So
I think his brain is ruined by America Bad brain rot, and I think he is somewhat of a. I don't think he's so stupid to not understand that he's running. He's a useful idiot for a lot of nefarious forces, which he should theoretically be against, but it's fine gaining publicity from.
That ain't good.
Fat Wade for £5 says Dave's debate with Prager on TYT was a great showing. His knowledge on the region is near none. His main argument is essentially conspiracy. I don't think I saw. He debated Prager on TYT. Was it like recently? It was like a while ago. I haven't seen that.
You missed a super chat. But we can go back to it. He got super critical of me, I think. Which I'm always. I mean, I'll if you want to come on.
Slender for $5.
Slender, yeah.
I'm a bit behind, but Dave has pretended to read as many libertarians as Adam has. And I like both of them to stop pretending to understand the philosophy.
Well, I love to talk about this with people. We love to have people on to talk about this, especially if it's something as interesting as philosophy. A lot of times people like our philosophy streams a lot. So, I mean, reach out if you want to come on and tell us how we're wrong about libertarians. I think obviously it came up that we're probably being too broad in talking specifically about libertarians, and we did separate libertarians and ANCAPs into two separate categories. So maybe you super chatted before we talked about that. But we got Ace wants to come on. I think Libertary Sasquatch wants to come on and talk to us about Epstein a bit. That could be fun. So
yeah, no, if some libertarian wants to come on to explain why we don't understand libertarianism, or
Right.
something that we're getting wrong about libertarianism, I'd be happy to do it because I feel very often people make these very broad claims, and then when I ask for specifics, there's like no answer.
Yeah, they
that's given.
cave. They fold
Yeah,
like a
so-
cheap card table. They don't necessarily know. It's a lot of people, and this is just a problem with human nature. A lot of people, they adopt a label and they think somehow that magically makes them the spokesperson for whatever label it is that they adopted, right? So
Mhm.
they're like, I call myself a libertarian and I don't feel that way, right? Well, you could
Yeah.
be completely out of step with a lot of people who call themselves libertarians and write giant books about it. So it's
Right.
not my fault if I read some book by some libertarian, the Arnold Klink guy, and he calls himself a libertarian and talks about libertarianism all through the book.
Mhm.
So I'm picking it up. Okay, this is what libertarians believe. If he's on the outs with libertarians and libertarians have completely disowned him and say, you know, he's a libertarian in name only or a cuck or something like
Right.
that.
Well, then also, all of Haidt's research is wrong too. You have to throw that in there.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Well, Haidt separated out libertarians as well. So
Haidt says he's libertarian.
no. Haidt's research separates out libertarians and studies them. A lot of research just looks at liberal and conservative. They don't really look at libertarians as their own thing.
Right.
So-
Yeah, because I was like, Haidt is not libertarian at all.
No.
But yeah, I just saw on X. There's another clip. I don't want to play it because it's again. They need to just. I think we need to start hanging reporters. Okay.
Hanging them?
Yes.
Like,
I want public
Hmm.
execution of reporters. But what
Mhm.
before you freak out, let me tell you why. Okay.
can't we
it's
just
not
put
the
them in
reason.
the stocks and like throw vegetables and shit at them?
No, I
rotten
want them
vegetables?
executed until
Oh.
they stop this behavior. Okay. Now, before you freak out,
Can we
'cause
start
you
with
don't know,
Taylor Lorenz?
you don't know why. You don't understand the reason I'm going to give you because I think you're going to agree. I want reporters executed publicly
Mm-hmm.
until they stop asking presidents questions in front of airplanes. Okay. I want an audio clip where I could clearly hear the reporter and the president give answers without the of the fucking airplane engine just going off in my ear. It's so obnoxious.
I
Just
think
take questions for like 5 minutes in a room before he walks out and then walk out.
they should be executed by helicopter blade rotor. What do you
No,
think?
you have to throw them in an engine, like an airplane engine.
Oh, that'd be good.
I'm sick of it. I hate it so much. It makes these clips unwatchable, unlistenable. Holy shit.
They got to
But,
do it. They got to get
no,
out there.
I bring it up because there's a clip, which I'm not going to play because it's in front of a fucking airplane, where
Mhm.
Donald Trump repeats today again that the Epstein files were created by Comey and the Democrats and are part of a hoax. So,
Oh my God.
I know some of the MAG community was very happy because there was a rumor. I don't know if it was confirmed, but there was some kind of rumor that Dan Bongino was like, he's back and he's working at Epstein files and he's gonna release them. And then today Donald Trump was like, no, it was a hoax by the, the Democrats and Comey. So
Wow.
I wouldn't hold your breath.
They are going to be running on the midterm in the midterms on releasing the Epstein files. It's just too juicy to pass up.
Well, Ro Khanna did this thing, and I listened to a clip of him talking about it. It seems like the Democrats are going to do this thing that's like a total troll, where they have some amendment that's like release the Epstein files or something to some capacity, and
Mhm.
they're just going to like tack it on to basically everything that the Republicans suggest now,
Right.
just to troll them, which is a good political tactic. And it would be very ironic if the Democrats in the midterms run on releasing the Epstein file. Now, I wouldn't believe that they would release the Epstein files because they didn't fucking do it for 4 years either. But it would be an interesting political tactic.
Well, if they're tacking this on, they can say the Republicans shot this amendment down like 470 times, right?
They will. Yes.
However many times they shoot it down.
Right.
They're
I did
collecting
not-
the ammo.
I did not believe in a million years that that the Republicans would make it so the Democrats could steal the Epstein issue from them. I would never have been able to predict that.
Yeah. I mean, you could have predicted it if you paid attention to Donald Trump and his willy-nilly responses to releasing the documents.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I never really thought about it. I never thought it, I guess it, because we're not in MAGA world. We don't know that this drives a lot of the conversation, right? If
do you mean?
4 out of 5 conversations between two fellow MAGA people is involving Epstein, that's going to be hard to get away from. I mean, 4 out of 5 conversations between progressives probably involve climate change, right? It's just, it's a constant thing for them. Climate change, climate change, climate
Right.
change. Climate change is what we're fighting against. Climate change. Republicans, they don't want us to stop climate change. Climate change is going to destroy the world. That's what it's like on the right, but with Epstein.
Yeah. And again, just before people say, "Oh my God," I don't think the average Trump voter walking around on the street touching grass. I don't know if that's the 4 out of 5 we're talking about. And that's not what I'm talking about. I think 4 out of 5 on the internet, they do that. Epstein was like huge to their worldview and their issues.
I mean, online political pundits and their audiences are involved.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. 100%.
And
that's important, especially
big
to
on
the Trump administration, because they use the internet pundit space to gain a lot of traction. So
who asked him about releasing the Epstein files in that Fox News clip? Because that's Fox News. That's big.
that's true.
And that's
That's
the
true.
touch grass Republicans.
Yeah. No, I think they care about it. I'm just saying I don't think it was like on the front of their mind. I don't think, as I said,
Well, it wasn't until he said they're not going to.
yeah, no. I think that makes it a big issue, and it's getting a lot of publicity. Is that I don't think that was a foundational belief for their support of Trump or for anything the way it was for a lot of people on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
So, and this whole Epstein situation has, it's very interesting. The right had a very correct critique of the media, saying the media has become too ingrained in Washington, D.C., and too ingrained with the left and left politicians, so they don't want to speak ill of them and all this other stuff. And they were saying this for like the last 10 years, and I think those are very valid points for a lot of journalists. And now we're seeing a lot of the quote independent journalists have fallen into the same fucking pit.
Yeah,
Charlie
good point.
Kirk and Tim Pool and some of these other quote, people. I guess Charlie Kirk was not really quite an independent journalist, but he sort of kind of exists as one or is treated like one on the internet. That a lot of these people have become so, ingrained in the Trump administration that they're promoting a lot of like weird bullshit talking points about the Epstein stuff in order to save their relationship with the Trump administration.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. They're carrying water to have access to power.
Yeah. Which, you always got to, if you're anyone talking about the news or doing a podcast or anything, you got to be hyper aware of that. And I put out a tweet. I feel bad now for ever defending Tim Dillon in that insane CNN interview, because he's coping about this so insanely stupidly hard. It's like retarded. He's like, "Oh, well, Trump is just hiding the information because he knows he's going to be killed if he releases the truth." I was like, really? Really, Tim Dillon? Okay.
I don't know this Tim Dillon.
That was the guy in the CNN interview.
Oh, you're right.
A few weeks ago.
I know who you're talking about. Tim Dillon is doing this? This guy was, everyone in the chat was like, "Oh, this guy's completely honest." Well, and weren't people saying he's kind of apolitical?
Maybe he is.
I mean, I don't see how you could call someone apolitical if they're...
He's intelligent. That's a fucking retarded take. So. Okay. Surferman from Saturn for $30. Thank you. Says, hey, Sitch and Adam, I have a question for you. What is the worst video game, movie, TV show you guys have ever played or seen?
It's a tough one. I don't know.
I don't know the
worst.
I don't know the worst video game that I've ever played. Worst movie and TV show.
Yeah, I wouldn't know off the top of my head.
I have to think about it. There's been things that come to my mind, but I think about it. There's things that draw my ire, make me very, very angry. Usually, if something makes me angry, is how it gets labeled the worst, rather than if it's like actually just bad, like The Room or something.
Yeah. I mean, I do watch things, and oftentimes I'm like, I fucking hate this. Mostly because it's boring. There's no story. There's absolutely no story. It's always so sad because in Los Angeles, like everyone wants to be a movie maker. So some friend of yours will say, hey, look, I made a movie. Come over and we'll all watch it together, right? And you're realizing, oh my God, this is the worst movie I've ever fucking seen. I'm bored as fuck.
Yeah.
And I'm in a room full of people who are bored as fuck. So I've seen a lot of super bad movies, really bad movies, but they're not like mainstream movies that you would talk about or think about.
Yeah, like last couple seasons of Game of Thrones, obviously up there in terms of like worst list. I would say the ending in Battlestar Galactica is up there in terms of like worst things. The last season of Umbrella Academy was just trash in an insane way. Definitely got me. I fucking hate Overlord, which is a very contentious take for some people.
That's a good show.
So never even seen it.
I mean, I hated that Ironheart, which just came out because it was just boring as fuck and made absolutely no sense, and there's nothing good about it whatsoever. She-Hulk was fucking obnoxious.
She-Hulk was very bad.
But
I enjoyed making fun of it, and to me that like removes some of the worstness of it, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, the Acolyte was just fucking, oh my God.
Acolyte was really bad.
What the fuck is this?
Like, obviously, the Star Wars prequels. I mean, I'm sorry. Well, prequels, yes. Which is a very contentious point, but the Star Wars sequels were definitely up there for, like, worst. Also, Surferman from Saturn says, also, the strangest dream I ever had was about a radical pro-environmental Mormon, and they took over the U.S. and banned all fossil fuels, and everyone had to use electric buses paid by the government taxes. That's a very weird dream to have because it's so politically specific. My dreams are very bizarre and they're very fantastical. I don't think I've ever had a dream about politics, at least that I've remembered.
Someone in the chat says Lilo and Stitch. That's a good one because I did. As soon as I got out of the theater, I messaged Sitch that was the worst movie ever made in human history.
I didn't like Lilo and Stitch remake, but I wouldn't go so far as to say
that movie
the worst thing ever.
God, I was so fucking bored in that movie. I must have looked over at my wife and rolled my eyes about 7 times. I was just like, what the fuck is this movie? It was. I wish I would have rewatched the original first, because then it would have at least been interesting to know why the movie was so bad, but I couldn't remember the first one. And I was like, it couldn't have been this bad.
Right.
Yeah.
Patrick Mulligan for 5 Canadians says, bring on Connor, Dev, and Destiny for a big Destiny confrontation. He's willing to talk to you guys, so why not? It'd be top tier content. God, that sounds like it'd be.
Who is willing?
Assuming he means Destiny. That sounds like that'd be the most horrendous exchange ever.
Destiny has us both blocked, so I don't. It seems like we're blacklisted. Even true.
Yeah,
but
it was weird.
Even if we aren't, I mean, I just assume blacklist Destiny. Like Destiny does. Destiny, I think, is a piece of shit and dishonest and uses dishonest debate tactics. And any engagement with him is like jumping into a river of piranha. It's like, why?
I agree.
Why?
Completely. That's
Why
a very good
fucking
point.
do it?
Yeah.
The
'Cause
piranha
it forces
analogy is very
you-
good because all of his little fucking sycophants are all just retarded.
Right. And it forces you to engage in similarly
Yes, similar
degenerate, immoral
tactics.
behavior,
Yes.
which I would rather not do. So
Which Sitch and I, look, our philosophy is truth springs from argument among friends. Like, Sitch and I are not here trying to gotcha one another so that we can fucking win an internet debate.
right.
We're genuinely engaging to find truth and real substance. Destiny doesn't give a fuck about truth or real substance. So what's the point? What is the point? All he wants to do is content mine us. Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny.
Anyway.
He had actually, because he had blocked both of us. I think he had unblocked me and then blocked me again. I think over the
Oh,
I think over the FT signifier conversation.
really?
I'm guessing. I don't know. I'm just
I was
guessing
going so hard. Oh God, I loved it.
about blaming
About how
the
it's
FT
Destiny's
signifier
fault.
was blaming Destiny for making what's his face Nick Fuentes popular.
Yeah. I was
Which I
leaning
think is
into
funny.
that so hard. I was
I
thinking,
think it's
the
funny.
whole time I was saying that, I was like, God, I hope these clips make it to the Destiny subreddit.
Right.
I hope they do. Look, I never go on Reddit because I just think Reddit is lame and who has time for fucking stupid shit.
Mm-hmm.
But I did notice an uptick from the DGG retards on Twitter. And look, I'm not even 100% sure they're DGG retards, but it's just, I get these small accounts, you know, they have 15 followers and you look at all of their responses and 50% of them are retweeting something about Destiny. And you're just like, okay, well, this is like,
And they started
someone-
like leaving messages right after the FT signifier conversation. You're like, oh, interesting.
yeah, there's a huge uptick. There was a
Yeah,
huge
yeah.
uptick. So I figured, it's probably, some of those clips probably did make it.
Mm-hmm. Joey Highwood Films for 2 months. Thank you, Joey. Says the way you can get stuff on streamers, I think you mean by like Amazon Prime, by uploading your movie to show to an aggregator and they shop it around on your behalf. I'll still try that later.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just my impression of the aggregators are, I mean, they're selling you a service that is not necessarily. I know people have used those aggregators and just complained to high heaven about how they cost more than they ever make. So you want to double check that before you dive in.
Yeah, be careful. TB7908 for 100 Ronald Weasleys. Thank you. Says I'm over 2 hours late, so this is just to say hello. Hello. Well, thank you.
Hello.
The
That's
Dark
nice of you.
Conservatarian for $5 says, I need you guys to drop some gamer words or something to become less ad friendly because I'm tired of getting an ad every 2 minutes listening back to VODs.
Well, I'll say it again. There was someone in the comments that mentioned to this. YouTube completely fucks us over like a fucking cunt on the ads because they come in and literally carpet bomb our videos with ads. And in order to take the ads out, it would be very easy if they just had some sort of slider that's like, you know, maybe 50% of what you're doing now or 20%, right? Here's how many ads or just a number like here's don't put more than this many ads in.
My God.
Yeah. So but if you want to take them out, it's like 50 to 100 clicks. You got to go in and click on the ad and click delete and click on the ad and click delete or click on the ad, click delete. So if you want to take 50% of them out, you're there all fucking day. So you can listen now that we're getting uploaded to the Spotify. You can listen on Spotify, aka Batosai is uploading the VODs there. So, and there's no ads in those VODs if you want to listen there. Or we have YouTube Premium. If you have YouTube Premium and you don't have to deal with the ads, please watch our show on YouTube because we get ad revenue from that. And you don't have to deal with the ads. So
Yeah, because I haven't looked at I thought that we had automatic ads turned off. I looked at the last two videos and it's like, it's fucking crazy.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. No, I'm
It's
telling
totally
you.
crazy.
Every once in a while, if I'm procrastinating, I'll go in there and take out half the ads or just make it so it's like an ad every 12 minutes or whatever, right?
Right. Right.
But most of the time I don't have time to go in there. Like I said, it's like, you're in there for like 10, 15 minutes just deleting ads.
Huh. Yeah, it's weird because it says like insert the option is insert mid-roll ads manually, but then when I look at them once they're uploaded, it somehow changes to automatic. So I'll going forward, I'll try to once the video the live stream ends, go in there and just do it. So it's like every like 20 minutes or something, as opposed to literally every 2 minutes, which is insane.
It's ridiculous too, because half of the VOD is carpet bombed with ads, and the second half of the VOD, none. So if you just go to the 50% mark and start listening, you will not get any ads at all.
Right.
And look, the end of our show is just as good as the beginning, right? This is premium content. Sitch and I have amazing conversations.
True.
We talk about all kinds of stuff.
Get YouTube Premium. It's definitely worth it if you use YouTube a lot.
YouTube Premium is the best, but it is obviously, I know, like our younger audience, struggling, poor college students who probably are dealing with student debt and expensive girlfriends. They might not have a lot of money. I was poor most of my life, so I get it.
I mean, I probably 90% of the content I consume is from YouTube anyway, so it's definitely worth it.
Really?
Yeah.
You're not watching Squid Games?
That's in the 10%.
Oh, okay.
Not yet. Sam wants me to watch it. I've never seen any of it. She's seen the first season or first two seasons, but
I want to like Murderbot, but I can't. There's just not enough substance there. But it's got robots in it. So, I mean, I'm a sucker for robots.
Joey Hotwood Films for 2 hours says there's a free aggregator, but I'm going to just upload to YouTube.
Okay. Well, look, free's great, but
free's good.
What's the catch?
Yeah, what is the catch? Maybe
they
if they
own your movie,
they get a chunk. Zokai for 2 hours says, sorry if my last Streamlabs message made no sense. I had to work within the character limit. Yeah, I know. It's always difficult. I have to be strict with spending my money due to circumstances. Oh, well, if that's the case, don't send us Streamlabs, but thank you.
Yeah.
Side note, does Adam know of the Corto Maltese graphic novels?
I do now. What is it? How do I... Corto Maltese?
Maltese. Corto Maltese.
Corto Maltese.
Series featuring an enigmatic sea captain. I've never even heard of these.
I mean, the art looks pretty cool.
Solid for Jar says, what do you think of the argument that Israel is to blame for the rise in anti-Semitism because the backlash against their actions leads people down rabbit holes? I think you could say contributes to it, but I don't think it's fair to say they're like the cause of it, because obviously the fixation on Israel is kind of set up in such a way to sort of disseminate information. We didn't see, when the Saudis are blowing the shit out of, people, when there's a genocide going on in Africa, that Trump is like, I solved the genocide, Nobel Peace Prize. Like, you didn't see a lot of hatred in America about those groups of people for some strange reason. But when it comes to Israel, people have been primed for a long time to not like Israel for
They're completely
some reason.
Disinterested, right?
Yeah. Sodoge for 2 hours says, in a southern accent, now boys, if you lump me in with this there, now boys, if you lump me in there with that idiot Dave Smith again, I'm gonna have to go nuclear and get the stream demonetized through shadowy means. I did it once long ago, I'll do it again. Well, there you go.
I mean, we would
I tried
talk
to-
to Dave Smith. I don't think Dave Smith, although I did every once in a while listen back to that conversation you had with him, and he is sneaky underhanded in that conversation.
Yes.
He's using a lot of the same Destiny tactics, but just he's not as in your face about
Right.
them. But they're there.
No, Soldoge was mad about using the broad term libertarian to lump Soldoge in with Dave Smith. That's what he was complaining about.
Dave's Solidoge is a libertarian.
Yeah.
I thought he was a leftist
No, he's
because he keeps
libertarian.
misrepresenting my position. So,
He doesn't like Trump, but he's a libertarian.
oh, he's a TDS libertarian.
If your words. Soldoge for Terror says, on a side note, Mecha Hitler is now in charge of the DoD. Fun times. Poor Will Stancil, though, with drone strikes and all. I bet Sitch and Adam are real nervous about those streams making fun of Elon Musk. Consequences. Tisk, tisk. I don't
Do
know
you think
about that.
you think Elon Musk is going to come after us for our live streams? Nah, he's got more important things to do.
Does he?
Don't scare me, Sitch.
Soldoge for Terror says, does this debate even matter to MAGA? They believe what Trump tells them to. They immediately switch on Epstein. As proof of their incompetence, they lack the qualifications to exercise free will. I've seen a lot. I don't know. To me, it still seems pretty split. I have seen a lot of MAGA switch, flip flop and suck up whatever bullshit Trump says, but I've seen a lot that are not, that are sticking to their guns about the Epstein stuff. So we'll see. I don't know how it's all going to shake out at the end of the day. I mean, people have short-term memory, so they'll probably forget, but Soldoge Victoria says, I don't know if Dave is out with libertarians, but his faction of the LP was soundly rejected during the presidential race. So he hitched his name to Trump ever since, and his faction is investigated for embezzling from the LP. Oh, really? That's hilarious. From the Libertarian Party. That's hilarious. I didn't know that.
Dave Smith got busted for embezzling?
Well, no, he said his faction. So I guess whoever he was supporting.
Really? Interesting.
Fondue for $10 says, still catching up, but I need to know now that Sitch has watched Frerin, who was your favorite character? For me, it was Frerin from the Old Heroes Party. Who was my favorite character? That's interesting. I didn't really think about that. Who's my favorite character in Frerin? I kind of like the priest guy. I kind of like the priest from the Old Heroes Party. Seems like my kind of fellow. Very pragmatic, drunk, funny. Seems like a cool dude. A cool, chill dude.
So
I also kind of like the old guy, the old wizard guy in the wizard test at the end, who's like super pragmatic about everything. He seemed cool. Seemed like a nice guy to be friends with. I don't know if Adam would like Frerin. I don't think so. It's just my guess.
I'm sorry. I'm in the chat right now.
Okay, have fun. You have fun with the chat.
Frerin,
Yeah.
what's it about? Is there robots? Look, I judge movies by how many robots there are.
Well, you wouldn't like it because the main character is an elf with penis ears.
Oh, please don't make me look at the penis ears.
Yes. I also like Fran's teacher, Flama. She's pretty base too. She seemed pretty cool. I like Fran. She's all right. It's a good show, though. It's a good show. I am curious to see where it goes. Though I might have read some spoilers, and it might involve some elements that I think is silly. So many animes, unfortunately, seem to go in that direction for some bizarre reason. Arrhythmus for $2 says, Sitch, Trump removed the restrictions that he placed specifically on NVIDIA's H20 chip that was explicitly created to meet the Biden era China export restrictions. I don't like it, but just a return to the previous standard. I don't know. When I was reading about it, they said that the H20 chip was a slightly nerfed H100 chip. I didn't see the part about it meeting Biden's restrictions. If that's the case, I think it's still stupid because I think the restriction should be no NVIDIA chips, period. Not, we get to give them bullshitty, weak, slightly weaker chips. I just say no chips. No chips until China decides to stop sending us drugs and stop stealing all of our shit and threatening to invade Taiwan. If China will not do those things and we can actually trust them, then I'm on board with giving them chips. Until that time, no, they can fuck off.
All of my polls are completely unbiased, Sitch. I want you to know that. I got an A plus plus in statistics, so I know specifically how to do unbiased polling.
I'm glad. J Mac for $20. Thanks so much. J Mac says I need to get together with you, and we need to have a movie night. Invite some other guests. Stick it on the media channel and just steal EFAP's movie shtick.
Let's do it. I agree.
Let's do it. I like it.
I agree. Look, J-Mac can be our first guest on our inaugural EFAP.
Right.
Although we have to, how do they do it in the comics? Where they steal another character, but they call it like the Amazing Spider-Man. We'll call it the Amazing EFAP. How about that?
No, it's me.
Why not? It'd be
have
perfect.
Our own name. Okay.
YouTube's Amazing EFAP.
The ultimate
EFAP.
Exactly.
There you go.
Right. Yeah.
Exactly. We just swoop on in there.
Right.
Oh no, we're not affiliated with EFAP. We're Ultimate EFAP.
Yes.
Yes.
There you go.
Oh yes, just because J-Max and both. No, there's no affiliation.
It's an alternate universe version, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
We can't go Bizarro EFAP. I mean, we could call them Bizarro EFAP. And we could call us original or classic EFAP. How about that?
Right.
Perfect.
I guess that was I forgot. We never talked about that in our little Superman talk.
Yeah,
we'll
we I know we're not supposed to say literally, but it was 20 minutes. It was actually 20 minutes.
No, I mean, even when we talked about a stream, I forgot the whole Bizarro Superman setup.
We talked for an hour and a half.
Yeah.
If you guys want to go listen to our Superman talk. The thing that we talked about Superman probably for 10 minutes before the Sunday show. And I just told Sitch when we were talking before this show, I don't want to talk about, we need to talk about movie stuff when I'm fresh, not when we've been streaming for like 10 hours.
Right.
Because I was making, I mean, you get worn out streaming, obviously. So I feel like I forgot a bunch of shit that I wanted to say in the Superman stuff. So
we both did. Okay. Joey Hollywood Films for $2 says it's free, but they take most of your revenue. Well, that's the catch.
Oh, that is the catch.
That's the catch. Fat Wade for £2 says the TYT debate was last year and Dave's team was with Jank. Oh, I did see that. Oh my God. I totally forgot about that until you said that. Yes, I did.
What was it?
When Dave and Jank were on the same side of a debate against Prager.
Oh yeah. I think we covered that.
Did we I remember watching. I don't know if
I do think we covered it. Yeah.
J-Mac for $20. Thanks so much. Says, did either of you watch Cyberpunk Edge Runners? They announced a season 2. Adam would love it because it has tons of robots and cyborgs and boobs and tons of gore. Just a wholesome, feel-good show, really.
That's on Netflix, right? And it's animated? I think I did watch a little bit of it. Let me see here.
I haven't seen it.
Yes. Yes. I do feel like I watched maybe a little bit of the intro. But yeah, that's right up my alley. I should definitely sit down and watch it all. I do love Love and Robots, a Netflix series. That's
Jay,
really good, and there's 3 seasons now.
J-Mac, has your daughter seen the K-pop Demon Hunters movie? It sounds like something that she would like. I was subjected to that with Sam.
Oh, is it good?
It's a very good show for girls.
Oh, okay.
It's a very like reminiscent of it's like what you want for a show for like little girls, where the girls are feminine and they kick ass, but they're still a lot of
Girls.
boy craze relationship stuff.
Oh, that's
so it's not
good.
quite
Yeah.
for a lot of guys, and there's K-pop songs in it.
Yeah, and
So,
that
as I said,
relationship stuff, I'm like,
good for girls, not really the audience for boys. Very well animated though. AKA Batosai for $5 says EFAP is on episode 347, coming up the 350 anniversary. Should go on there again with the gang. Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't even know what number we're on because we stopped
I
counting
it's like
intentionally.
I become a complete wallflower as soon as there's more than 3 people. I don't want to fight for my chance to say something.
Yes.
And
it's
in
annoying.
the EFAP environment, it's particularly there is a lot of people fighting for their chance to talk because they think this is going to get me more subscribers and more audience share. So I become even more of a wallflower because there's all these personalities that are really trying to take over the platform. So, so it just doesn't seem like a good use of my time to go on EFAP for 7 hours. And I mean, do you remember when I got caught on EFAP drawing when Mahler was like, is someone
Yes.
drawing?
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm working on the comic.
Yeah.
I finally started speaking about something. So, I mean, it was easy for me to draw when I was muted, but I was drawn into the conversation somehow or other. So, and continued to draw. So you could hear my pen smacking the tablet.
Oh yeah, we're hearing Adam's pen smack the tablet.
That was me.
Oh, yeah, baby.
I was smacking it the whole time. I was
smack.
I was
that
on
pen.
EFAP. Well, it is EFAP, right? I thought this was
that's
a
what you're
perfect
supposed to do.
opportunity. Yeah,
Right?
exactly.
Yeah.
Wait till you see ultimate EFAP. Oh my God. It's going to be amazing.
Laiko001 for 4 months. Thank you so much. Says, have you ever read about the Jewish history of Superman? It's interesting to read a fair number of articles and blogs written about it. I haven't. I'll check it out. I know that the original writers or creators
Jewish,
were Jewish, and obviously Superman's kind of like a Moses story, with a baby being sent, down the river, only across the planets.
Yeah.
So
Superman is the chosen one, right?
he's little baby Moses.
Fascinating.
Anyways.
All right. This was a great show. This was a lot of fun, as usual. Join us soon on our second channel where we begin ultimate YouTube EFAP.
That's terrible.
All right. Take care,
everybody. Carpet, bomb it with ads. Put an ad every 2 seconds.